Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
I'm Navid Mashinchi.
Yes, we've got a new voice on the podcast tonight. Well, kind of a new voice. If you've watched some of our watch-alongs, Navid has been on that. He is, of course, our reigning and defending, pulled off at halftime quiz champion, which we will get round to doing a second episode at some point in the future. But yeah, we have an awful lot to get through tonight. I just want to start with some breaking news. I don't know if you guys have heard, but Lionel Messi is leaving Barcelona. I don't think it's been covered much, so obviously we will delve into that in the first 2 hours of this episode.
I like Steve's take on it.
What was Steve's take on it?
I don't remember.
How it might lose someone some money.
Oh,
It's been the big talking point, obviously, this week. I'm sure to some people, I couldn't care less, really, but
yeah, but Zach's right. It has the one thing that's part of that hasn't been reported in Canada, at least, is TSN paying a whole bunch of money for La Liga rights, and then
yes.
now not having Messi to show on the games.
Yeah, no Messi, no Ronaldo, although
Well,
he's not been there for a while. But yeah, they knew that when they did the deal. But
yeah,
I'm sure they'll bury it somewhere on TSN 5, or you'll have to watch it all online, like Sportsnet have done with a lot of the Bundesliga stuff that they buy rights for. I hate this, because there was a while Sportsnet had all the rights to all of Scottish football and just chose to show the odd Celtic and Rangers game, so nobody else could show it. And like squatting on the rights, not utilising it, annoys the hell out of me. We spoke before about the fact that you can't watch Montreal games on the whole here because of the deal that they've got with the French language. RDN, is it? RDS?
RDS.
RDS.
It's
mix
TV.
them up.
Isn't it TV?
TV5?
Oh, yeah, you're right.
TVA,
You're right.
TVA,
TVA.
I don't know. Whatever
Yeah,
it is. Some station that most folk don't watch, so all that just annoys me. But let's not start me off in a rant right early in the show. I'm sure I'll have a few of those as we go on. How we start all these shows is the gift that keeps on giving. Steve Pander's 2011 Upper Deck box of trading cards that he gave Zach and myself for Christmas this year. We're going to rattle through it because we've got so much to cover on the show. So we'll just get to it. We're opening a pack a week. I was going to delve into what our teams were, but we don't have time. So let's just get them open. Zach's already there. Show us your first card.
I've got one of Michael's favorites. MLS Classic in goal. I believe you have this card. San Jose Earthquakes, John Bush.
Oh, I love some Bush on a Sunday. Okay, let's get my pack open here. Okay, we're starting off in Chicago. Not many folk want to do that. I don't think I've got this. It's a midfielder. It's number 9. It's Bajio Husidic.
Oh, I think I have that one. I'm staying with keepers. Michael, you also have this card. This is New England's bald man, Matt Reese.
Oh, well, from a bald man to a guy with a lot of hair in this picture. Doesn't really suit him. He's wearing a Kansas City Wiz jersey, but he's, of course, with Sporting Kansas City. Defender, Michael Harrington.
Oh, I got that one. This is one you have, but I don't. Also wearing a Wiz kit, but a Sporting Kansas City card, more appreciated in this country as, I believe, the first MLS captain of Le Impact de Montreal, Davy Arnaud.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm going to New England. And this guy, some folks say he's smoking. It's Kelly Doobie.
I think I have that one too. This is Houston Dynamo's midfielder, Danny Cruz.
Oh. I've got KK, not Kai Kamara, Kazuki Kimura from Colorado Rapids.
I have midfielder forward from the first dynasty of MLS, the District of Columbia's United, Branko Boskovic.
Breaker, I hardly knew her. From Boston Breakers, it's Kelly Smith.
And I have forward from the FC Dallas, formerly the Burn. This guy I do not remember at all. This is Milton Rodriguez. And I think I've gone another pack without getting a double.
Milton's not really the name of a footballer. It's right up there with Fred. But at my last card, I have this from when I bought this set, and I actually have this autographed. I got the man himself to autograph it one day at Empire. Not during media duties, of course. He was doing one of the signings that they did at half-time. It's Nano. It's his super draft card, Michael Nanchoff.
That's a beauty.
Yes.
Nice.
Who was the assistant coach for David Egbo before Egbo came to the Whitecaps in the draft this year.
Yep.
Akron, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Right.
I'm sure Nano had lots of good perspective to share.
I'm sure he did. But that's our football cards out of the way. I enjoy it. I don't know if everyone else does. Zach does as well. But let's get into the football chat now. And we're not going to kick things off in the first part by looking at tonight's game. I want to look first of all at what has been a very busy Whitecaps news of the week. Aller guten Dinge sind drei, Zach.
All good things come in three?
Yes. The one phrase of German that has stuck in my mind from high school, and I've never known why. It's a pointless phrase. When am I ever going to use it unless I'm maybe buying a packet of condoms and some toilet in a bar in Berlin? Turns out, this week, on a conference call with Florian Jungwirth, because he became the third Whitecaps signing this week, or the third that was unveiled, because Ryan Gauld obviously signed last weekend, but was unveiled at a press conference on Tuesday, saying all the right things at that release on Tuesday. If you haven't yet, check out the last episode 468 of the AFTN Soccer Show. Had a nice one-on-one chat with Ryan on Thursday night, just chatting about his move to the Whitecaps and just his journey in his career so far from Scotland to Portugal to now here in Canada. So it's a good chat. Highly recommend you check that out, as of course I would. Thursday saw our 19-year-old Ecuadorian under-23 initiative player that's been rumoured for weeks, Pedro Vite. He was finally announced as well. Before we delve into what Pedro might bring to the team, let's hear a little bit of audio from head coach Marc Dos Santos, just talking about that himself.
Can you talk a little about Pedro Vite, how he fits in? The midfield suddenly is now very crowded, a lot of options for you there. How do you see that position sort of unfolding over the rest of the season?
Yeah, JJ, number one, a lot of options when, right? Because right now he's not an option, and it's still far from being an option because there's we're professionals with dealing with visa and patient waiting for visa situations to unfold. So he's still not here. I think it's still gonna take time for him to join, and he's gonna have to go through a process. This is a player of 19 years old that in a normal situation he would even probably get games in our B team or U23 team and slowly start the progression and the progress from there. But look, I could tell you that it's a player that could play in a lot of parts in the midfield. He could play wide, especially on the right, tucking inside a lot, coming to his left foot. It's a player with a very good vision in the last pass, dynamic, keeping the ball in movement, always looking to play forward. The way he opens his body and gets ready to play forward is very good. He has the capacity and energy to be a guy that when the team loses possession, his reactions to be very good. It's not there yet. I think he's a little bit lazy at this point in that area, but it's something that is definitely going to grow and become better. The same that Daber did grow with time in that chapter of his game. But it's an exciting player to have, and it's a player with a very high upside.
MDS there, just chatting about what Pedro Vite brings to the Whitecaps. We're not going to see him for a few weeks. He's still getting all his visas and work permits and everything sorted out. Even when he does arrive, he's going to be getting eased in a little bit gently. He's not going to be a guy that is starting. I wouldn't expect much for this year. Maybe off the bench. Let's start with Navid. What have you seen from watching the highlights of Vite? Are you excited by this addition? The Whitecaps obviously have a lot of stock in him because he's taken up one of these under-23 initiative spots on the roster.
Well, first of all, when I heard about you talking about visa issues, I just hope they make it into the country.
Yes,
and it's not going to be another Ali. Right, I hope it's not going to be another Ali Adnan situation.
Should we start a pool? I know he's not from the Middle East, but should we start a pool?
How long it's going to take? Are they checking his social media to see who he's been posing with in Ecuador?
To be fair, though, I actually haven't seen anything about him yet, and just read a little bit about him, and I guess they brought him in as a backup number 10, or what is he?
Yeah, he's going to be a backup to Ryan Gauld. He can also play in the wing, though, so he can play left wing, he can play right wing, which I think we do need some depth on wing play. And he's 19. He's highly thought of in Ecuador. I mean, we've spoken before, highlight videos. And it's like you were involved with video work, Navid.
Right.
So it's like you can make anyone look good on some highlight packages. But
exactly. But I'm sure they did their homework with the new recruitment department and stuff. But it will be exciting to see what he brings to the table. I mean, 19 years old. I'm sure he's got lots of potential.
I mean, the worry, Steve, is some of these guys do take a little bit of time to adjust. We saw it with Christian Dahomey last year. Part of that, though, was because his family wasn't here. Diber Caicedo, like Mark still says, he's maybe not fully settled in, but he's coming on. It's a new adventure for him. It's a new country. It's new environments. It's new everything moving to Canada from Ecuador and just playing in a different league as well. So fans have to give him a bit of time.
Yeah, for sure. He's not, and that's where it comes in handy that you have Ryan Gauld and also other players in front of him on the wing. So he's not being forced to be a saving grace for the Whitecaps or anything like that.
Yeah,
he's essentially just there to learn right now. And I think they mentioned it in the release that he's got all the talent. They just wanted to help him hone how to use that talent on the pitch. He's got a very raw player, but a very highly skilled raw player. So it's just a matter of finding out where his true position lies. Is it on the wing? Is it as a number 10? Is it box to box? And helping him find his voice on the pitch, basically.
Jawohl. Sorry, exactly. Zach, I came over a little German there. Her name's Helga.
I think we're talking about Vite, right? So I think, well, with all these signings really in general, I think one of the things that is very unfortunate is the situation they're coming into. Because when you're coming into a situation where the coach is out of contract at the end of the year, and presumably other members of the staff, it means that they're forced into this results first, results only, which I know in one respect football is, don't get me wrong. But it would be nice if they were coming into a situation where it was like, look, this has not been an easy year. We have not played in our own stadium, all those things. And we're able to say, the rest of the season is going to be about figuring out how to get these best out of these new players, see if they're as good as we think they are, we hope they are, and kind of work things out, in training and on the pitch, in competitive matches, in multiple competitive competitions. And so I feel I guess in one sense it's the same every year for Vancouver, in that it always feels like it's like do or die, right? Because everything's driven by tickets and people and making income and all that kind of stuff, which again is totally legitimate. I'm not speaking against that, but you just kind of wish they were able to, in a place where they could say, look, We know the rest of the year, the first half of the year was really difficult. We are where we are, but we want to use the rest of this year to get things set up so that next year is kind of in top order. Obviously, that's not going to happen because they need to win. They need to get people, as many people as possible into BC Place as quickly as possible. They need to keep them there, and more importantly, they need to get them to either renew, return, or become new season ticket holders for the following season. And so there's going to be these are all conversations that either Marc Dos Santos is a part of, or that he's made aware of, or that he knows what's going on. And so,
he's fully aware.
Yeah.
And,
so,
but Zach, I think there's a way to do both, though. You can go for the wins and still, like, believe me, they're running into so many injuries that they're going to have to be forced to play players out of position, out of and group them up really quickly. I think they really have no choice but to play some of these guys. So I don't see that being an issue of using as many players as possible. And who knows how they're going to play until they get eliminated, essentially. So there's no way no team. No group of players is just going to give up on the season. I'm not talking about giving up on the season, but I'm talking about But you give your players the idea that you're giving up the season if you're going to just put in the young players and bench the veterans. And that's I'm not saying do that. What I'm saying is there are lots of football clubs where that you're in a transitional moment. You're in a transitional part of your year. You're in a 5-year plan. And everyone understands that the title or making the playoffs is maybe not going, and we're going to try, obviously, but it might not be achievable. And so there's less, I guess, maybe pressure in one sense, or the expectations are more understood. Whereas in MLS in Vancouver in particular, I don't think there's any way that they can communicate that, or that can be understood, or that would ever be embraced.
I mean, it's tough because you're coming in to a team that's bottom of the West, but still within touch and distance of the postseason. As Steve said, there's injuries, so it's like a lot. It's going to be like backs to the wall, and we'll talk about it in the next part. You're talking about coming home, but in a sense, it's not really home to some of these guys because they've never played at BC Place. Some of them have, but have never played in front of fans. So you've got all that in the equation as well. But I think all these guys will see time. Vitae will probably take a bit of time to get up to speed, and I think we'll see the best of him next year.
He's the only one, I think. I think Gauld is definitely in there, and you better be playing him.
Oh, yeah. And like Jungwirth is...
he got in right away.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play today, but he was playing midweek for San Jose, so he's up to full, ready to go fitness. And I think the only main reason he didn't play today is just familiarity and chemistry. The Whitecaps have been stung already by making some changes in the centre-back department late in a game. So you don't want to do that. He can also play midfield as well, but did you want to change that? So, I mean, there's all those conversations to have. And talking about Florian, or Flo as he likes to get called, the Whitecaps weren't finished with their comings and goings on Friday. Some much-needed defensive depth and veteran presence was added to the squad. San Jose's 32-year-old centre-back from Germany, Florian Jungwirth. Still not 100% sure how to pronounce his name. I did look it up today and there was a few different variations. I'm going for now with Jungwirth. Navid's nodding, and he was born in Dusseldorf, so he knows these kind of things. Now...
Flo, not a fake German like
Zach. Like some wannabe German.
My name is not German at all.
I know. No. But you're born there.
Yeah, right.
Now, Flo's had 9 years experience in the Bundesliga. He's in his 5th season in MLS, so he comes to Vancouver with a lot of experience behind him. He's also a leader on and off the park, and reading about him and watching some interviews that he did after it was announced, he's a great addition to the locker room. We'll talk about him in a sec, but I'll play a little bit of audio from MDS on Friday, just talking about why they made the move for him and what Florian Jungwirth brings to this team. So, a busy couple of days for you, Mark, in the transfer market. Just looking at the couple of additions, we had a chat on Tuesday that you're looking to strengthen a couple of areas in the team. Looking at Florian, first of all, obviously a guy experienced in MLS and over in Europe as well. What is it you liked about him that you thought would help make this defence better?
No, I think what we needed depth. We needed some more options with the schedule that is up there in August and September with the Canadian Championship, with so many games. When this week there was some knocks during the weeks to some of our center backs, we started to play a little bit with fire, part of training session. And one part of training session this week, the 4 center backs involved were Javain Brown was as a center back, Ranko, Chris Campagna, and Matteo Campagna. And then we started to realize that, it's a talk we already had since we made the move with Derek. But in our head, we wanted to go after another type of center back in that point. But then we just thought that it's very important to have depth in another option there when the schedule is going to become condensed. And, then you go through all the possibilities that you could get in MLS and possibilities that clubs are willing to move or open to do some moves. And of all the possibilities out there, Flo was the one that something that he wanted also, and that was important because he wanted to do it also.
He's a versatile guy. He can play centre-back, he can play defensive mid, I think he can even play right-back at a push. Is that one of the factors that kind of really made you want to go for him, just that he gives you options not just at centre-back, but if there was an emergency, you've got him elsewhere?
Yes, we know that of him. We know that in the last 2 games, they've been playing in a 3-4-3, and he was one of the central midfielders with Jutson in San Jose. So he has a lot of games as a center back, some as a right back, and some as a defensive midfielder. So of course that made our decision easier. And the team needs to make sure that we always have a lot of depth, and the team needs that.
So MDS there with some thoughts on Florian. Let's start with Zach this time. What's your thoughts on his addition? The only weakness I really see in his play is he's not a centre-back that's got a lot of goals over the years. He's talked himself about that's an aspect of his game he'd like to improve. At 32, I don't know if that comes, but we've seen some centre-backs have a late resurgence. Look at Pamadou Ka with some of those finishes that he had in that season.
Yeah, but Pamadou Ka had scored some incredible goals.
Yes, true. I like the addition, Zach. I think it's going to be good both on and off the pitch for the Caps.
I think, for who he is and what he is, the experience he brings, he's what we've been talking about them needing for a while. And many people have been talking about them needing that for a while. So it'll be interesting to see how he fits in. This is going to sound maybe harsh, but I hope this means we've seen the last of Andy Rose at center back. Very probably, except for in a dire situation. Again, nothing. I'm not trying to just speak against Andy, but I really hope that this means that he's going to be getting those kind of minutes, or Flo is. And then, on a personal level, he's 1860, so I'm not super excited about that, or 1859, as some of my friends like to say.
Yeah, 1860, also the kind of holidays that Wayne Rooney likes to go on. That might be a joke for the UK punters. That there used to be a club 18 to 30 when I was a lad. It was nobody over the age of 30 was allowed to go on it, and you can imagine what happened on those. But 18 to 60 is more Wayne's.
Because he likes grandmothers or something.
He does. Yeah. He's just a fat granny shagger. Anyway, we've
at least he's not bald.
Back to Flo.
At least he's not bald anymore.
For me, I think even though he's a year older than Andy Rose, he could be a potential. I know I think you mentioned that it could be just for the end of the season.
Possibly.
But he could be it could be a good audition for next year too. Mm-hmm. Because Andy Rose, from what I've heard and what we talked about before, might be making a transition to coaching.
Yeah.
So is this the veteran center back that they're getting for next year as well? that they can keep on the roster. So I can see this as being more than just until the end of the year, and potentially, like I said, being an Andy Rose replacement. Andy Rose could also go down to his father-in-law's club as well if his wife's looking to move back to LA. So that's another option as well.
Hey, if he's still at that club.
They need some help in the central midfield now.
Yeah, they need a lot of help.
There.
I mean, Naveed, Jungwirth's contract is up at the end of the season. So that's why the Whitecaps have made a play for them. They've had interest in this Duarte guy, but that wasn't able to get done. He might not even be coming here. There's been offers from Mexico. So I think initially, yeah, this is looking as a stopgap to the end of the season, and then they can see what they do. But if he comes in and is solid, and he wants to be here, and if he puts in a good performance, I could see them keeping him on. He's young enough, and you need that veteran presence. Look at the likes of Andy O'Brien. I was actually speaking to MDS during the week, and we were just chatting about that, and I said, you know what, we've not had that kind of experienced centre-back since Andy O'Brien's days. And he's like, yep, people keep mentioning him to me. And this is the kind of guy that could be an Andy O'Brien-style guy.
I hope to see him longer than just half a season. Like you said, like the experience he brings, and he seems like to be a great character too. So he would be a great guy for the locker room, I think. In addition to that, I think he's a left-footed center back. Is he?
I'm not sure. That's one thing I never pay a lot of attention to.
Yeah, so that would be great to have a left-footed center back. Given the fact that I think most of the other ones are all right-footed, but
if he can play left back, we might be needing some help out there.
Right. I'm sure. Oh yeah, maybe he played left back sometimes, but no. Overall, though, I think it's a great signing. I'm sure Axel is happy about that too, having a German player as well on the roster.
Isn't it weird that his first German player is an MLS player?
Right.
But actually, like talking about that, Flo did a media conference call on Friday. Let's bring you a little bit off our audio just as a chat to Flo about coming to Vancouver, his time in MLS, and a lot more beside. Hi there, Flo. I'd say welcome to Vancouver, but I know it's a few days before you get here. So welcome to the Whitecaps, anyway. I guess first thing to ask you, obviously MLS is a strange league. Players often don't have a say in if they get traded or not. When did you find out that Vancouver were interested in you, and did you have a choice as to whether you left San Jose to come here or not?
Yes, first of all, thanks for the welcome. And a couple weeks ago, I already were in talks with our general manager in San Jose. So I knew that there might be a possibility for me for a trade. And we had a very open conversation. And I informed him that if there might be an opportunity, I'd like to do it. But then, the actual first time I heard that there might be something up with Vancouver was on Wednesday, like at, I don't know, 1 or something. So my agent informed me, but we had a game with San Jose, and I was starting a game. So I was like to him, I want to focus on the game first and let's talk after. So he was fine. And after the game, I haven't received any message or so I was like, okay, probably nothing is gonna work out tomorrow since it's the last day. But I mean, I was like, okay, that's if that's what it is, it's fine for me too. And then I woke up, had a couple of calls from my agent, so I was like, oh, maybe I should give him a call back. And then he said, Vancouver and San Jose try to reach out for a deal, and waited a couple hours. Then I talked to the technical director of Vancouver. He said we are good. I drove to the vaccination site, got my vaccination, and a couple hours later, they told me I'm a Whitecap, and I couldn't be happier.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I think from looking at your stats, I think I saw that you'd played in Vancouver 6 times during your MLS career. Have you had a chance to explore the city at all? I know some of these have been quick coming and going, but have you ever had the chance to look around the city? What have you made of it if you have?
Yeah, a little bit. Oh, first time, I think when I played 6 times on a place, I think that sounds that I'm a little old probably, but
No, you're way younger than me.
it's still fine, yeah. But anyway, yeah, obviously when you're on the road, you don't have a lot of times, but I remember, I don't know which year it was. I think 2019, we were on the road for a week or so, and I think we spent like 3 days or so in Vancouver. So we had a little time to explore, and I'm always in for adventures. I always love to explore the world, and Vancouver is an outstanding city. I think I don't have to tell you guys that. And for me, that was always, wow, that's one of the best cities in my whole life I've ever seen. And I think I've seen a lot of cities. So I think I always had in my mind, if one day maybe I go another way, and maybe there's a chance. Vancouver was always top of my list, maybe one or two other cities from that perspective. But yeah, I can't wait to explore more, get to know the people, the culture, and everything. So yeah, I'm really glad.
Obviously, the teams haven't played so far this season. I don't know if you've had a chance to watch much of the Whitecaps games. If you have, what have you made of the team and what you've seen?
Yeah, I watched a couple games. Obviously, when you study the opponents, like you mentioned, with San Jose, we haven't faced the Whitecaps, but obviously we faced teams who play the Whitecaps. So I watched a couple of games, and I can only pay my highest respect to the team, because I think their situation is incredible hard, because they haven't been home for more than a year. I can't even imagine. I don't know if I could have done that, but for me, I paid all three Canadian teams so much respect, and the way when I watched the Vancouver games, that despite the situation, they never gave up. You always saw that they wanted to win their games. They were always very disciplined, and because I think you have all the excuses, when you would lose, you could say, hey, we haven't been home for a year and it's a hard situation and so on. But I've never had the feeling when they played that they used this kind of excuses, because they always tried to give it all, no matter the result was. And that's a great mentality. And I think that shows that the coach also knows how to motivate the players despite the situations. And I think the fact that they can go home now to Vancouver, being back at home in the stadium, I think you can create a big energy there and a great atmosphere, and I'm really glad to be part of these special moment then.
I failed my high school German, so I won't try and talk German to you, but I'll practice it with you when you're here, see if it comes back to me. Alle gute Dinge sind drei is the only phrase I remember. All good things come in threes. We've obviously had 3 new additions in Vancouver this week, so that I can use that. Now, you mentioned there about your wife and how you've just had the shot. So my understanding is you wouldn't be able to come here for a couple of weeks till the 2-week dose is over. Is that right?
Yes.
So the plan is, though, for your wife and your dogs to come with you?
Yes, of course. We did now all the paperwork. We called the animal health department to check if everything is fine, if we can travel with the dogs to Canada. So that's all fine. My wife got the vaccine yesterday as well. Like you mentioned, a 2-week period. I'm able, because the team is traveling to San Jose on Thursday, and after they travel directly to Austin. So I will be able to travel with a team from San Jose to Austin. And then I will travel to Vancouver, and my wife will come to a later date by car then. She would drive up all the way with the dogs. And yeah, it's crazy, last day of the transfer window. Now we realized we have a lot of stuff to do. So it's crazy, but I'm really happy that, because my wife is incredibly organized, and probably I'm not a big help for her, but yeah, I'm glad to have her. And I know she will handle everything, that we arrive well in Canada and haven't forgotten anything.
It's a great city for dogs, and I know a lot of the players have dogs as well, so you'll have a great time here. Talking about what you bring to this locker room, I watched an interview that you did with one of the San Jose podcasts back in February last night, and you spoke about how you're not afraid to like call your teammates out if you feel that they're not putting in a shift or they're not performing. Now, obviously, I like that, coming from Scotland. I like that kind of attitude. But obviously sometimes it doesn't go down well with some of the younger players. But you're coming into this team as a veteran. So still got to find your feet. But you sound like you're going to be a leader from the start as soon as you get in here.
Yeah, that's my plan. No matter if I play or don't start in the beginning or whatever it is, I will try to lead by example. I think, I'm not sure if I said I'm not afraid to call out. I would say sometimes it makes sense to be honest with guys. I'm always honest with guys. And I think everyone has a different personality. So for me personal, I always like it when someone says it face to face to me. It's like, man, you sucked the last time or whatever, then sugarcoating everything. But I think you have to treat every individual person differently. Some people, they need more sugarcoating, maybe need a hug more. So, and sometimes some guys need a kick in the ass to perform. And I think I always had a good feeling how to treat a player or how to talk to the different players. And I think I always got accepted as this kind of leader. But I mean, it's always the thing, calling out, it's not like I scream at someone and insult them or whatever, it's always positive, because in the end of the day, you want to help the guy to evolve, to do better and to do the best for the team. Because no one can have success on his own, and everything I think you should do every day should be for the team and for the ultimate goal, which is on the end of the season. And sometimes if it takes to be a little louder in the locker room, then obviously I'm not afraid to be that guy. But I mean, you shouldn't think I'm the dragon who is like screaming all around and that stuff. Like I said, I think I'm a nice guy and okay to handle for everyone. But yeah, my goal is to be a leader here. But first, of course, I want to bring in my performance levels. I hope I get accepted from the locker room. But like I mentioned, I never had a problem with that. But yeah, I won't change, and I want to lead the team. I want to lead the team to success, and it doesn't matter for me if I'm a starter or not, because that's not changing my personality or my personal habits, and that's what I bring in, and I hope everyone will be fine with that.
You've obviously seen a lot of the teams in the Western Conference this season. Vancouver, after the crazy results midweek and at the weekend, they've sank to the bottom of the standings, but still very, very much in the race. A couple of wins and they're going to be right up the table. What have you made of the Western Conference this year? It feels like there's more parity than there's ever been, and that's saying something, because there's been some battles in the 5 seasons that you've had in the league.
Yeah, it's very close. I think when you do a lot of things right, I think you can beat everyone in this league. I saw it with San Jose last Saturday when we won at Seattle, where we had really a great performance. Before, the team hasn't won 11 games, so obviously no one expected us to get anything out of that, but we won and had really a good game there. And I think that shows that you can beat everyone, despite what anyone says who's the favorite. And I think this year especially it's really, really close. Obviously you still have Seattle, I would say, was my opinion, when everyone is fit there, which is the best team in the league, out of question. But behind that, there are a lot of teams, and I think you can beat everyone behind. I mean, everyone's always talking about LFC, but now they're in trouble because Segura torn his ACL, so they might have a lot of defensive problems now and can't maybe handle it just with the offensive players. So I think everyone is beatable, and I think, like I said, I think the energy which will help the team when I think we have 10 games at home, and BC plays them, and I think that can make a huge impact and a huge difference. And I'm 100% convinced with the current rosters and the 3 additions included that we will reach the playoffs and win the Canadian Cup.
Thanks so much, Flo. Welcome to Vancouver. Look forward to catching up with you. I want to talk to you about your work with rescue dogs when you get here as well. So
that sounds good. Yes.
Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Flo Rider there, just delighted to be in Vancouver, has said when he's visited here, he's loved the city, looking forward to seeing it a lot more. You can read part of that in an article I did on AFTN, aftn.ca, so you can check that out.
And just for Naveed was mentioning earlier, he is actually right-footed. But can play left-sided center back and can also play right back.
Yeah,
it's listed on here.
Which could, I was going to say, which could free up like Javain to play left back. We've got quite a lot of folk that can play right back just now. That is our most stacked position, which considering what it's been like in previous years is crazy.
At Vancouver Whitecaps, if you can play right back, you can play left back.
Right.
That's how it seems to look after tonight's game.
Remember, for the history of the Whitecaps, the right side has been the most difficult side to fill in. And the left side
now we've got them coming out of our ears. It's like we've got, what, 6, 7?
They had some pretty high highs with Lee Young Pyo.
YP Lee was the one.
And Stephen Beta
as well.
Yes, but before and after those two, it was like a desert of right back.
Yeah. So that was all the new additions. There was 2 departures this week. Out on loan, Theo Bayer off to Norwegian second-tier side HamKam. That's their shortened name. I'm not even going to try and go for their proper name. I love that. It just reminds me of Cameron Habibullah for some reason. But he's there to the end of the Norwegian season. HamKam are currently leading the Obos Legion by a point after 13 games as they chase promotion to the top flight. It's a good move for both Bayer and the Whitecaps, I think. People were saying, why is he not going to the CPL without maybe thinking, maybe he didn't want to go to the CPL. He's a guy that's wanted to try his hand at Europe. This is his chance.
I'm actually hoping it turns out to be something like what happened to Eric Hurtado back when Robos was in charge.
He comes back, does terrible, and we get rid of him.
No, he actually his mind, his mentality changed completely. I don't see Theo Bayer in training. I don't know his personality, how he is.
It's been up and down from what Mark said, but he was having a good mentality of late. But I mean, folk have said, "Oh well, at least he'll maybe get minutes now." Look, he's had some time this year, not a lot, and he hasn't done great. He didn't do particularly great at under 23 level. He needs this to maybe try and like revitalise his career, and this is a really chance to test him. And I think it's good for both parties, and we'll see if he has what it takes, Zach.
Yeah, I agree with Naveed. Like, you hope this does what it's intended to do: raise his level, get him match fit, match confidence, and ready to either come back or to move on to what his dreams are. In terms of the CPL comments and stuff, like, that's fine. And lots of young Canadians still want to go and play in Europe. Some will go via the Canadian Premier League route, and some won't.
Also, a lot of the CPL teams are up to their max 23-man roster. I know there's been a couple of additions the last couple of days, but that's not to say that they needed Theo or wanted Theo.
Yeah. Well, everyone was waiting for the CPL designated player lottery of Ben 10 to finish, right?
Yeah, and he's now going to Cavalry, so delighted for him. Hope to catch up with him soon. But
for Theo, I hope that this gives him a new perspective on, what it means to be a professional footballer, and helps him to play to his level and makes him even better.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of time for Theo. We've watched him play since he was about 15 here, and watched him come through. I hope this kind of, as Naveed says, does the kind of Eric thing, makes him view things with a different viewpoint. He learns a lot, and he comes back. If he does very well, and HamKam get promoted, he might even end up staying in Norway and carving out a career there. So,
yes,
win-win.
Norway was good for Sam, right?
Mm-hmm. It got him the bigger move as well.
Yeah.
So I just want to mention that there is actually, if you Google HamKam, there's actually a camera pointed at a cured ham, the world's oldest cured ham.
I thought it was going to be a pig or something, so I guess it is in a way.
Well, no, it is a pig. It's from 1902, the cured ham. It's been sitting it's actually a camera on there, so if you want to look, check that out.
I thought HamKam was basically just what the CPL have in one soccer. Subtle joke there. So Bayer out on loan, as is Gianfranco Fascineri. He became the 6th Whitecap out on loan. He's off to join Landy Cakes at San Diego Loyal. That's a good move for him as well. And again, it was like, why is he not going to CPL? Do the Whitecaps think USL's at a better level? San Diego Loyal is a good team. He's going to learn a lot there. He's in an environment with Landon Donovan and some other big guys down there. Great move for Fashionary. I tweeted out when the Whitecaps came back from Utah, the first training session, I had to look up to see who Fashionary was from his number because I did not recognise him. He is buff. He's put the work in the gym. He's looking a beast. He needs to get playing time. You're not going to throw him in as a centre-back towards this run-in when you're really needing things to tick. So, again, a great move from Steve.
Yeah, it gives him an opportunity to play. I don't know what, San Diego's depth chart is there or anything like that, but you can definitely have a better option to play.
And you love San Diego?
Yeah, I love San Diego. One place I would live in America. Road
trip for us.
Great place, and he's got a lot of potential. But they've had quite a few center backs that had that potential. It's just a matter of turning it into something.
He's been the first one that's made the breakthrough though to the MLS roster, because that was always our big complaint. It's like we're not developing the centre backs.
Yeah, that's true.
A lot of them just ended up going to college and stuff. And one of them, Joel Harrison, they drafted in the draft this year, so they have his MLS rights. But that's it for this part. I think we've talked enough about the comings and goings. Let's talk next about the match tonight. It's another draw, but it means the Whitecaps are unbeaten in 4, 1 defeat in 8, and we'll delve into all of that after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gauld, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Witches has turned into hunting bitches, and for some reason I can't seem to relax. Do me a favor and find out the facts before you come to my door, ready to attack. I like to be above it all, but your words are like poison. I know it's never gonna stop, so I might as well join them. I hate biting my tongue when I know what's right, and I don't like being mean, but I will run from a fight. Unfulfilled doesn't mean you need to take it out on me. I see right through you, locker room bully. Everyone has their story and somewhere in there lies the truth, but what you say about me says way more about you.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the latest song, and it really is the latest song, from our Artist of the Month here at AFTN this month, from Sacramento, California, like Naveed. Although they've kind of relocated to Oakland now, Naveed. But maybe you can actually get me some of their CDs, because I cannot find them online, and they're in a shop in Oakland. I can look into that. Yeah, they're about to be in some shop in Sacramento as well.
Let me know.
I will.
I'll look into it.
Destroy Boys, and that was their new single, Locker Room Bully, the first track taken from their 3rd album, Open Heart, Open Mouth. It's getting released on October 8th. Sadly not on CD, just on vinyl, and this newfangled thing called MP3. I don't think it'll catch on. I'm sure the CDs will come back, just like cassette tapes have. I messaged the band asking if they were going to release it on CD. They didn't reply.
You can also check out their video on YouTube as well.
It's very good.
Yeah, they're just running through the streets in old-timey clothing.
It's all about witches, witch trials, tying it in with what locker rooms in high school are like these days. But thankfully, we don't have any locker room bullies at the Whitecaps, or a bad locker room this year. Everyone's talking about how good the locker room atmosphere is. It's a close-knit group of players. They will fight for each other. And we saw that tonight. Another fighting second-half performance from the Whitecaps. 1-0 draw down in LA. To paraphrase the visionary, cunning linguist that was Mr. John Bon Jovi, whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, the Whitecaps might be living on a prayer if they want to make the postseason. Halfway mark of the season, guys. Yay. I'm sure we all feel. It's felt longer than halfway through the season, doesn't it?
Man, 13 games, no wins, right? Is it 13 games?
17.
17 games?
We have won.
When was the last time we won?
Oh, the last time. Well, it's
that long
sometime
ago.
within the last 7 or 8 games.
Yeah.
Against the LA Galaxy at Utah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was recent.
Yeah, that was
Only
the most
2
recent
or 3
one.
games ago or whatever.
I don't blame you for not remembering. It's just all.
It feels a lot longer ago, I've got to say. I mean, maybe we'll need some divine information, Zach, see what you can do. I mean, in Gauld we trust. I'm sure that will be some of the TIFO banners at BC Place in a couple of weeks' time. But another draw. 7th draw of the season. The way this played out, with the first half performance, that was terrible.
Yeah.
The injuries that they've got, the missing pieces they had going into this, Cava getting injured at the end of the first half. Surely, Zach, you take a point in this one with both hands.
Yeah, I think so. Also, I think don't be too upset at the 7 draws because they are making up for the 0 draws from last
Yes.
season. So,
And then we have 15 or 16 one year as well, I think.
yeah, so this is normal. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it wasn't a great first half, and like you said, there was issues with starting lineup to begin with players out, and then having to make 2 significant changes at the half. I think. Well, I mean, they ended up being able to turn it around in the second half, but yeah, it was not a good first half performance.
No, I think we were lucky, to be honest.
Yeah.
First half,
they're
were
lucky
all
to
over
just
the
go
place.
in 1 goal down, Naveed,
Right,
at
right,
half time
right.
there. And I don't know what it is. They come out as a completely different team in the second half of matches.
You can say lucky, but I think Max Crepeau had a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, he had a couple of big stops in that first half, and I mean we'll get into obviously the goal and everything very soon, but it's one of those games, like going into this, looking at this 3-game home stretch, if we got a point tonight, even a point against San Jose and a win against Austin, and you're coming out with 5 points, I'm happy enough with that. Get a win in San Jose and a win in Austin, you're coming home with 7 points, I'm happy with that. At half time, I would have taken anything to get a draw out of this because I did not see them turning this around.
And the goal came from out of nowhere too. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a set piece. It was.
But they started the second half strong. But let's look at the
Michael,
goal.
in one way, it felt like a game from earlier in the year. Horrible first half,
Yes.
set-piece goal to equalize.
Because they had turned that around and they were like coming out strong. And I spoke to Mark in the build-up to this game and he said, look, we're looking at the blueprint of what we did in Seattle, what we did in Dallas, what we did at LAFC. And that was, a lot of that was coming out on the front foot. Now, it could be that LA just didn't let them, or the missing pieces were huge. You really saw what Dahomey means to this team tonight, and that's worrying if it turns out to be dragging on a little bit with Dahomey. But let's look at the goal, Steve. 32 minutes in. I mean, the Galaxy had squandered a massive chance before that from Goodsir. He should have put that away. But a couple of minutes later, Kevin Cabral makes it 1-0. Some of the worst defending we've seen from the Whitecaps for a long time, and that's saying something.
What was Ranko doing?
I don't know.
Let's not blame Ranko right off the bat. If you actually move the video back a little bit, you'll see Patrick Metcalf way too high up the pitch, and he's supposed to be sitting in the middle in front of those 2 center backs. When he's gone, none of the other 2 center backs cover for him. Oh, and then that forces Godoy to move out the pitch, which leaves Ranko basically covering 2 people, and he's got to choose which guy he's going to go to. So you could, at the end of it, blame Ranko, but let's not leave the blame off the other.
A lot of blame all round. When a guy is that open, Naveed, there's a lot of blame to go around.
Yeah, throughout the first, I felt like collectively, defense, like they had so much possession and like breaking
I think
lines
it was
easily.
59-41 was the halftime possession.
Yeah, I felt they easily broke the lines in between, and I mean, like Steve said, I don't think you can really blame Ranko particularly, but overall, I don't think they look great at all.
A lot of it has to go in the midfield, and like Caio Alexandre had a shocker. He was like missing in action in that first half, got pulled off at half time, was not because of an injury. Mark basically said, he was ineffective. That's something we're going to need to look at.
Well, he's one of the guys that was close to being able to cover for Metcalf, and didn't even try to get close to that box area where and you could see Godoy moving up the pitch off his line. So basically, it was basically a 3-man back with the 2 fullbacks at the ends of the box, essentially. So Ranko was left on an island with two attackers.
What I didn't like at the goal, apart from obviously the marking, was the body language when it went in, the heads, and we haven't seen this from the Whitecaps, and that's been one of the positives and one of the plus things, and something I've talked up. Their heads went down at that goal and they looked defeated, and I was like, oh, that is not a good sign. And I didn't see a way back at all. Then Cava gets a knock on the knee. Well, he kind of indicated he'd got a knock earlier, but he went down after jumping when no one really near him or touching him, and went down holding his knee. Looked like it was going to go off. Somehow continued to half time. Somehow gets a bicycle kick in with his injured knee, and it's like, oh, maybe he's not as bad after all. But another one that gets pulled off at half time.
Yeah, but you could tell after he did that bicycle kick that he was feeling the knee.
Yeah.
When he got up, he was actually kind of putting pressure on to see how he felt on it.
He was walking very Tim Parkerly.
Yeah.
And I was hoping it was going to come out for the second half. I thought it might just have been precautionary, but when I asked Mark after the game, didn't seem to indicate that was the case, and he needs a full evaluation. He's feeling a lot of discomfort, is what they said. That is not a good sign.
The thing is with him, there are players like that can damage their knee and still play on it because they have other muscles. Like he's got, you've seen his legs. They're very strong and everything. Those legs can probably, has muscles that can probably basically compensate. Like I was saying, this is a worst case scenario. Like I've heard of football players who tear their ACL or something, but still can play because their other muscles are strong enough to hold on to that for now. And that could be something that's worrisome about it.
Yeah, I guess we'll get the full evaluation next week. But I mean, the subs at halftime in the V totally added a freshness and a spark to it. Russell Tybert came on for Caio Alexandra. Ryan Raposo came on for Cava, moving really to a front two. We had Caicedo and White kind of playing up top together there. But it was a different team in the second half. They took the game to LA from the kickoff at the second half, and there was a spark, there was a brightness, there was just a different feel to it.
Well, I just want to say one last thing about Caillou. Yeah, he did have a horrible first half, and actually, I went back and watched it again, Steve. And the reason why Metcalf actually moved up the way he did is because Caillou put in like a ghost challenge on the guy, and the guy was barging in. So Metcalf filled in his spot.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that let's not blame Ranko fully for that, because when you're stuck by yourself with two people,
I know he was between two guys. It's just like it looked like the one he left more open was more central. That was my biggest goal.
Yeah.
But no, I think the changes obviously helped. I mean, I think the four of us would agree that Russell Tybert's not a starting player in MLS at this point, but he is a serviceable player and can contribute. And I think everyone saw that again.
I'll be honest, I like him coming off the bench because it does add something. When it looked like they were going to bring him on initially for Cava, I was a bit like, I'm not sure about that, but...
And it was Raposo replaced Cava, right?
Yeah. Officially on the thing, and then they kind of tinkered things. But, I mean, they started fresh at the second half, and I thought, oh, here we go. We've seen this before. This is a different team. Had a couple of forays forward, won a corner. Ranko, Veselinovic, not a great first half as we talked about. Gets his first Whitecaps goal. 5 minutes into the second half, lovely header, and, well, delighted for him. Hopefully it takes a little bit off the pressure on him, because I know he's probably been wanting to get that goal. Still doesn't make up for defensive lapses, but it's going to give him some confidence. He's had a little bit of a torrid time, Naveed, this season. Some good games, some bad games, some really bad mistakes that he's made. So hopefully this will kind of settle down a bit. But I was delighted for him, and it was a well-taken goal.
Right. No, hopefully, I mean, I'm sure it's going to give him confidence. But now with Florian coming in, now that's going to be... I'm sure that he's one of the guys that's going to be out, I guess.
I'm pretty sure we'll see Flo start the San Jose or the Austin
Oh,
game.
he'll
If
play
they're gonna
San
start
Jose.
at least one.
Yeah, I could see him play.
I would
against
imagine San Jose, because he's going to have a little bit of the inside
Oh,
scoop on how to play
100%.
against these guys. So
That'll be exciting.
Yeah, but he also might be more needed in the midfield at this point too. Like if he is capable of playing the midfield, then he might be starting in front of them, because that might be more important than playing at the back line.
yeah, because he can play DM. So I mean, he could come in for Metcalf possibly. I was going to say midweek, but it's on Friday night. Great delivery from Caicedo as well onto Ranko's head for the goals. He's had a few of those this year, and just need to try and get a little bit more of that out of him.
It was a good header from Ranko. Don't get me wrong. Kissed the post and in. It's pretty dodgy goalkeeping as well, though.
Yes.
Like that needs to be noted. That keeper.
Bonds had a mixed season for the Galaxy. There's been some really weak moments from him.
Yeah, but again, from Ranko's perspective, you can only score past what's in front of you, and he did the job.
I mean, after that, the Whitecaps, they had a good spell where they looked a better team. I don't know what happened to the Galaxy. They were flat as anything coming out for that second half, and I mean, Greg Vanney made some. I forgot what early team we're playing. Made some subs of his own to kind of bring things back, and they got back more into the game. It was a bit more end to end, but the Galaxy had maybe more of the danger. So then MDS countered that, bringing on Ryan Gauld, making his first appearance. The discussions before going into this, where he wanted to give Ryan, if he could, 15 minutes. He said he was going to travel down to LA. Said he may or may not play, but I think the general feeling was he was going to. Came on with 15 minutes to go, and I think he showed why he's a DP, why the Whitecaps want him, what he can do for this team, Naveed, and very unfortunate not to get his first goal.
That was exciting to see, just coming in 10 minutes and seeing that piece of quality right away, that one chance he had.
Football IQ.
Right, you can tell the difference, right? You see it right away. And I'm actually curious to see if he's going to play now more than 10 minutes against San Jose. Maybe give him 20, half an hour, maybe.
I think he hasn't played since the 18th of May, so it's coming up for nearly 3 months. And like when I spoke to Ryan, he said, man, I'm not up to fitness levels. And we'll hear from him after the game as well. And I said to him, hey, you look pretty fresh out there. He's like, hey, that's deceiving, because I wasn't. That's some of our thoughts on the draw tonight down with the LA Galaxy. Let's hear some post-game thoughts just now from Whitecaps head coach, the gaffer, Marc Dos Santos. I know that at some point you need to start turning these draws into wins to climb the table, but that was a very, very good point tonight. The fact that at halftime it didn't look like you were going to come out of this match with anything. What happened in that second half? What brought that extra spark?
It wasn't a spark. It's how we addressed the second half, and we changed some pieces, and we changed tactically what we wanted to do. We could have addressed it earlier in the first half, because it was difficult for us the first half. It was we weren't able to press them well. We tried to be a little bit more aggressive, but the way they came out with 3 players all the time, we felt that we were late to everything. They were overloading one side. They were making it very hard on us on one side with the ball movement, and Leggett was dropping, especially on our right side where Brian was, and there was Williams there. There was Villafania getting high. There was Grand Sur getting wide, and we weren't able to address and to press that area of the field well. We thought about doing something earlier, but we were able to bring it to half. At halftime, we addressed tactically. We went with David and Brian White together, and they initiated the pressure. They were more aggressive. The lines we were able to push the lines higher, and then with with Daber coming underneath and opening a little bit wired, Rusty and Daber, we were able to be more dangerous. Look, not only we got the draw, but I felt in moments of the second half that we were very close to getting the win. The problem is, Michael, if you look at our results on the road, I don't think that's a problem. When you're in the MLS, many teams would like to go on the road and get the results that we're getting in very difficult places. But the problem is where we are, and because we don't play home and we haven't played home for so long, we have to go win on the road. And that's not easy to do. But look, every point matters. Every point. Now it's 5 games undefeated and always playing away, and every point puts us in a position to grow and to get better. But there was things in the first half that were really, really bad. But then in the second half, we were much better. We addressed things much better, and we were able to get a point that is an important point.
I mean, you touched on it there. You could very easily have come away with all 3 in this one. Some really great chances late on. Ryan Gauld had a few good opportunities. I know you don't want people to get carried away. You want to give them time to bed in. But, I mean, that performance in those 13 minutes, it certainly showed what he can be to this team when he's at full fitness.
Yes, but it's Ryan Gauld. That's how he is. If you would look at his game this season in Portugal, it's the type of player he is. But, we said today 15 minutes, and that was the plan. He came on at minute 75. And, of course, when he came on, he brought what I think he's going to bring with consistency. And he had a very good chance. I wouldn't call it a chance. He made it a chance a little bit out of nothing with the quality of his shot, a very good save. He got to the end of one. He was so close to get to the end of one. But look, now we have a deeper bench. Now we have a lot of options, and that helps. That helps keep the team healthy, and that helps keep the team sharp.
He's the gaffer. You can't try it on with him. He's the gaffer. Even when he's on a limb. He's the gaffer. When his back's against the wall, has the answer to it all. He's the gaffer.
The gaffer, Marc Dos Santos there, waxing lyrical as well about what Ryan Gauld can mean to this team. It's that football IQ, Zach. I was on the post-game show tonight and talking to Corey and Colin Miller, and we're chatting about that, and Colin made that point about him coming in and having that intellect. Pedro Morales, Kenny Miller, I struggle to find some other guys that we've brought in that's got that level of IQ and the vision and that can see the game.
Yeah,
Davide before that, yeah. I mean, those are the special guys that other teams seem to find in abundance for years in MLS, and we struggle to find those guys. And it's early. I don't want to go on the hype train. I don't want to build him up too much. He showed the flashes tonight. It's got to excite people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he comes on, and the first play I remember is him going down the left wing, not thinking twice, putting in a left-footed cross, which was actually a decent cross. Then having some good on the other wing, on the other flank, some good interchange to create an opportunity to create a chance on goal. And then, yeah, he had the one where he kind of mishit it or was a little behind him or whatever, and that could have been his moment. But yeah, it's both encouraging, it's exciting. Yeah, I agree with you, Michael. You don't want to hype him up too much so that he has the potential for a big fall labor. It is, so it's encouraging, but it's also kind of frustrating that it's like, yeah, like not like every single person who's watched the Vancouver Whitecaps for the last, since Pedro left,
right,
I've said the same thing. This is the type of player that is needed. And so getting a morsel of it tonight, I think, is encouraging for people who want to see them kick on and do well.
The thing is, Steve, with Pedro, with Kenny Miller, there wasn't a lot of other guys in the team that could see the game the way that they saw them, even in the smallest thing. We've spoken many times about Kenny Miller playing passes that he's expecting Darren Mattix to run onto, and Darren's like,
Yeah.
But
you could see that frustration from Kenny Miller in training. I remember being at training sessions where he would be kicking the post.
Absolutely.
So,
But it feels like Ryan's got some guys around him now that shares that
for
same
sure.
kind of vision.
Yep, and you guys are gonna do it. I'll do it. Ryan Gauld, 2022 MLS MVP. Stamp it right there.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding.
Steve, you're supposed to say your bold predictions for next week's match or Friday night's match.
Didn't I nail a bold prediction somewhere? I can't remember. Oh well.
Well, it certainly wasn't Inter Miami winning
No,
the
definitely
Eastern
wasn't
Conference. There's bold and there was whatever that was.
Yeah. Mold. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that there is way more around him than what either of the other players had in the past. Like you said, the Pedro Morales, Kenny Miller, Davide Comiento. Although I say Comiento had decent running mates with guys like Alan Rochat and Eric Hastley and stuff
He
like
wasn't
that.
consistent enough, though. That was the problem.
Well, that was his
with
problem.
Davide, yeah.
Too much spaghetti.
Yeah. I guess you could say that about Pedro in his later years as well. I think the travel and the back issues that he had really started to make him a shadow of his former self.
I think playing on
for the keeper.
Playing on the turf. Playing on that turf hurt Pedro as well, I believe.
A lot.
And we haven't, of course, seen Ryan Gauld playing on that turf or any other artificial surface either. So that would take a little bit of him getting used to.
But I've heard, and especially remember hearing this from in interviews from Peter Beardsley, is when they came over here and obviously the pitches in Europe are much better nowadays, but they would say that they were able to control the ball so much easier on turf. Because they knew exactly where the ball was going to bounce and everything. So maybe this might be better for him. Who knows? It won't be good on the knees, though.
Yeah, it's just on the body. It's just on the body.
My worry with Ryan is he has had some hamstring issues in recent seasons as well. So it's just that's why they're being slow with him, because they don't want him to get rushed too early and then something happens. Last thing I'll say about Ryan's performance tonight. That shot that he created, the dipping one that forced Bond to sprawl and save, that was quality.
Quality, yeah, right away.
Can you imagine if that had gone in, talk about the hype train, that would have been like, whoop, whoop.
100%.
I was a little bit concerned with that dive that happened late by LA Galaxy and Karma coming back from the Dahomey thing the week before.
I mean, I wasn't worried because as soon as he went down, I screamed at the telly, "Diving bastard!"
He didn't even get booked though, right?
No,
I don't think
he's going to get a fine afterwards. Though.
Yeah,
it's like
must.
that's definitely coming his way. That was shocking, absolutely shocking. I mean, I'm all for gamesmanship, kind of winning penalties, but that was just blatant cheating. And
Dahomey made it look good.
Yeah. Because there was an element of doubt, Steve, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Wasn't clear and obvious. Anyway, let's go back to Ryan Gauld. I got a chance to speak to Ryan after the match. Let's see what he had to say. First of all, just chatting about what it was like after this week, all the attention he's got, to finally get on the pitch and become an official playing Vancouver Whitecap.
Good to finally get on the pitch. A bit tiring. But the most important thing was that we managed a decent result, and in the end, we created enough chances to win it. But after going behind, we take the draw.
So your first experience of an MLS match, an MLS stadium, what did you make of the whole atmosphere, the tempo of the game, quality of the game?
It was a great experience. It was obviously my first time being here at this stadium, and very impressed with them in the first half. And then we looked a much better team in the second half. So, I already knew there was a lot of quality throughout all the teams in the league. But, I think we held our own, especially in the second half. And like I said, we could have ended up with the 3 points easily.
Yeah, you had a couple of looks at goal towards the end of the game there. Did you? I mean, it's hard coming into a new team at the best of times, but trying to get that kind of chemistry going with some guys. It looked quite natural out there. Watching you at training this week, it looks like you've kind of fitted into this team right away.
Yeah, being surrounded by good players, it makes it easier to gel, to fit into the team, and it's a good bunch of boys as well. So, whenever you've got quality around about you, it always makes it easy, the transition easier.
And it's your first game in nearly 3 months. Did it feel like that for you out there? Didn't look like it. I mean, you looked pretty fresh, but you said you were tired. Did you feel it a little bit towards the end?
I might have looked fresher than I felt, but no, hopefully, it's not going to take me long to get the fitness back. And that was a good, I don't know what I got tonight, 15, 20 minutes. So that's a start, and I'll have to build on that now and train hard. And whenever I'm called upon again, give my maximum just to get as close to 100% as I can.
Thanks, Ryan.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Ryan Gauld, in Gauld we trust. Golden balls, I will get that trending. I am determined to try and make that work. So, big game coming up on the road, or 2 big games coming up on the road before the homestand kicks in. We've got San Jose, Austin. We'll touch on that in the next part. After that, it's 9 games at BC Place from the remaining 15 that they'll have. And I just want to finish this part by looking at that. And I touched on it in the first part there. So many folk are saying, it's going to be back home. It's giving them this huge advantage. But is it? Because there is guys that's not going to have played in that turf. Not going to have played in front of fans at BC Place. It's going to take some of them a bit of getting used to. Yeah, it can eventually turn into a home fortress. But I don't know that we can confidently say, Naveed, that they're going to hit the ground running and right away in those first 2 games, LAFC, RSL, be a dominant force at home. The trouble is, though, they kind of need to be.
Right. But like you said, the players, the new ones, definitely, they still need, because the BC Place turf is, but I mean, I've been on it many times. They definitely need some time to get used to it.
They definitely need to replace that turf. It's way overdue getting replaced.
Right.
Is it? When was that?
I thought it was 5 years. It was replaced for the Women's World Cup.
Well, Women's World Cup, right.
That's the last time?
Yep.
Yeah. Women's World Cup.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. Well, 9 games. I don't know how many he needs to win out of those games to get into playoffs, but he definitely needs
7 or 8 puts you in a really good position, you'd feel, no matter what you end up doing.
I can't see them win 7, 8. I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
That's the thing, though, Zach. That's kind of what they need to do, because they have to start turning these draws into wins, but they have to start winning at home.
The thing is, we don't know who, because you're gonna have teams coming in. We don't know who's vaccinated, who's going to be playing on those teams.
They seem to have changed those rules a little bit from what I've been hearing. I can't remember the full ins and outs, but for example, like De Leon can come and go and play without quarantining and stuff.
Oh, I thought that was, I did not know.
Yeah, they've made some changes.
Oh, that's weird. Hurtado could have played in Montreal then. But like I said, they're coming into BC Place. It's a different atmosphere. It's not an easier road trip than going to Salt Lake, so that makes it difficult. Players are going to have to come in the night before. They can't come a couple days earlier, and they basically are going to be somewhat quarantined in their hotels. They can't really do anything. So I don't know. It is possible for them, and the team, the home team, Vancouver, is going to get a boost. It's natural.
It's whether it's enough.
Yeah, that's the question. Yeah.
And whether they could channel that boost into victories, because they could channel it into being nervous on the pitch as well and screw it up completely.
That first game, they're going to be nervous, Zach. You've got to feel.
Do we know, are those first 2 13,000 matches, are those sold out yet?
I don't think they are, because there was emails that came out saying that single match tickets are now available.
Okay.
I think there's still, I mean, you've seen it with Pacific FC.
Yeah.
They had 5,000 and they're not selling that out. I think there's still a little bit of, I need to wait and see, and cases are rising here. Watching CTV News tonight, one of the medical experts that was on saying fully expecting cases in BC to get over 1,000 again on a daily basis, which is like
1,000 on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I mean, we're up at 400 at the moment, and they said it's going to get worse before it gets better. So factor that in, there's still going to be people that are hesitant to go. And I'm nervous. I'll be honest. I'm nervous about going. I was at the Whitecaps under-23 game today. I was calling the game with Gideon against FC Tigers at Swangard. There's a 600 to 800 people.
Is Gideon old enough to get the vaccine yet?
He is. He's
okay.
He's double dosed. He's double wrapped.
Okay, so you're safe.
I hope so.
But this is maybe not a conversation we want to have right now, but a friend who I know well, who was doing studying over in the UK, double vaxxed, everything. And now he's got the Delta variant. So there's all this stuff that
I'm worried about where it's going for the rest of the year here and what it's going to mean for live sports and attending. I mean, even if the fans can't get in, hopefully the Whitecaps can see the season out at BC Place and they don't have to go and I mean, this exemption will hopefully be for the end of the season, because it's going to be absolutely heartbreaking for them if they have to go away again. I think it will be. I'm confident of that. I'm not fully confident that this restriction that's getting lifted in September for full fans is going to be taking place the way that things are going.
The only way I could see them actually pull results would be actually if everyone stays healthy and MDS actually gets a chance to play his best team consistently.
They need that badly. The injuries are getting worrying.
Because if he keeps going like this again, like players coming in and out, it's going to be the same.
Well, yeah, because who's out? Okay, Dahome's out.
Dahome and Gutierrez were out today. Gutierrez took a knock midweek in training. Baldissimo was missing today from yellow card accumulation, so he's back. Right now, with Cava, that's maybe the only other injury. It's just a little bit worrying on the left side. I thought Jake, though, I mean, let's give Jake credit, doesn't play left back. I thought he was good at left back today.
Yeah, I thought so too. He did get the job done.
I was surprised when I saw it. Surprised to see Brian White on the wing.
I think
that didn't work as well.
No, you got to have some pace in the wing. I think Jake was helped in that second half having Russell to be able to cover for. There's a few times where Russell was covering for him, so he could try and get into the attack, which he loves to do, and which is helpful for the team's offense, because he knew, kind of like we talked about earlier in the season with Guti, he knew he could bomb forward because Russell was going to fill in for him, and so that helped. That I think helped him in the second half. Jake can't be the left back, your full-time left back going forward.
No.
But in a spot cover, he did a respectable job.
Yeah.
How long is Guti out for?
We don't know.
They don't know.
So it was Wednesday at training. He just felt something. So fingers crossed, not long. But I guess we'll wait and see, because there's two games coming up pretty quickly, Friday, Wednesday. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Last thing I want to mention this part, mentioned it there, the Whitecaps under-23s taking on FC Tigers Vancouver at Swangard this afternoon. 1-1 draw. Magnificent to call the game at Swangard. Happy just to be back in general watching Whitecaps taking the pitch there. Great game. If you haven't seen it, check it out on FC Tiger Vancouver's YouTube channel. Really, really entertaining game. Some really good Whitecaps young guys coming through the ranks. There was 3 guys from the MLS roster on that. Isaac Bomer in goal, who did not have a great game, I've got to say that. He's a little bit shaky.
I saw the goal, yeah.
Cameron Habibullah, he was there as well. Average. Couple of flashes, but not lighting it up the way that all these folk on Twitter who's like, why is he not playing? Watch that, you'll see why. He still needs to develop and get a bit of time.
Aren't those like friends and family though? Like not to be disrespectful.
Not all of them, no.
Oh, okay.
No. I mean, I'm very high on Cam. He's got a bright future ahead of him. You don't want to be throwing him into this kind of situation. And in this match, he showed he's very easy to take out of a game. So there's that as well. Matteo Campagna there, who has got the homegrown deal but isn't on the roster yet till there's a space available. He came on in the second half. Actually played centre-back with his brother Christian as well, which was lovely to see the two of them as a centre-back pair. And he bossed the second half when he came on. He was outstanding. But for me, 3 Whitecaps that were tremendous today that I just want to mention. Nicholas Apostle, who we've seen before playing for WFC2 back in the day, went to college, now back in the Caps fold. He was excellent. Elijah Ba, who is a guy I didn't know much about. He came on and added a great spark in the second half, some really good runs. And John Herdman's son, Jay Herdman, he came on, and the first 5-10 minutes that he came on, watch that. Tremendous. Does amazing spark. I guess from having reports about him, the feeling is he might be too small and too slight to really make it far and high level in the pro game. But I mean, Ryan Gould's no big.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got the Scottish Messi, you got the other Messi. Size doesn't have to.
And he's only 16. And I spoke about Fashionere, how hitting the gym, what that does to you.
Well, I want to know, what was his motivational speech to his teammates like? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. John was there today as well. I didn't get a chance to speak to him. So if you're listening to the show, John, your son was fantastic. Get in touch. We'd love to chat to you about it. But that is it for this part. We're going to be back talking a little bit more Whitecaps and looking at the weekend's action around the MLS West after this.
Hi, I'm Marc Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Eyes are cloudy up in the sky. Hands are twitchy and my mouth's getting dry. There's a fire burning in my brain, and there ain't no one to give me first aid. This weather's gonna put me in a coma. I can't wait until summer's over. Feeling dizzy, think I might faint, and there ain't no one to give me first aid. I got hate,
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, all the way from down under, it's the Chats with their song Heatstroke from their debut album 2020's High Risk Behaviour. They are the most Australian band you will ever see, ever listen to. I love them. Great songs. Very much a late 1970s punk vibe, so naturally I'm going to love that. I need to get them as Artist of the Month, actually, at some point this year, so I will do that. But Heatstroke, thought it was very apt, because it's been a nice, cool weekend. I've really enjoyed it. Or as I like to call it, a Scottish summer. Scottish heatwave, really, the temperatures of the weekend here today, 17 and 18 degrees. It's going to get horrible, hot and toasty again towards the end of the week. 35, 36 they're talking about for Thursday. Everyone stay safe, stay hydrated, stay out of the heat. And I know we've got a lot of folk that are listening out in the Okanagan as well. Stay safe, guys. And hopefully the wildfires don't get a lot worse. What's it like down in your neck of the woods, actually, in the Vid just now? I know that the interior of California is hit quite bad.
40 degrees, smoky, really bad.
Any fires near you? Or
Sacramento. It's really foggy around here. Worse than Vancouver, that's for sure. No, it's definitely one of those things that's concerning, that's for sure.
Yeah, the only time I've spoken to you before, I drove through Sacramento, I was at Lake Tahoe and coming back, and it was so hot then.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so barren. My GPS showed what was meant to be a river or a reservoir or something, and it's bone dry, and you're like, wow.
No, it's pretty bad down here.
That was a good 6-7 years ago, and I know it's been a really bad couple of summers. So everyone stay safe, and hopefully we can get through this weekend, and then things will start to cool down a bit. Back to Whitecaps chat for a little bit, then we'll turn our attention to the rest of MLS. Now, we touched on it in the last part. Defensive worries if Gutierrez is out for too long. Jake has done well. I was surprised, though, that they didn't switch Javain Brown to to left back where he has played and keep Jake at right back. Marc said it was for not wanting to shake too many things up, which I was a bit confused by because Jake started at right back in the last game. So I didn't quite get that. But like going forward, I mean, what do you do? Do you persevere with a makeshift if Guti can't go? Do you put Russell Tybert in there? Do you put Javain Brown? Do you switch to a back three or a back five?
I think Javain Brown is who I would go with.
If it's long term, yeah. If it was just maybe 1-2 more games, I think Jake could be serviceable there.
Well, the nanny lookalike came on at the end of the game there, Gaspar, right? So
hopefully he's going to be back as well.
Yeah, and if he's playing right back, you put Brown at left back.
They had him playing in midfield at training this week for a little bit out in the wing. So I mean, we'll have a look at that. Talking of Javain Brown, another fairly good performance from him tonight. Really like the kid, like what he do. Got a chance to catch up with him at training this week, so this is our feature interview for this week's show. And he spoke to me of his own accord, which I thought was nice of him. Now, I explained this...
What time of night was it?
I explained in the last show, when my chat with Max Crepeau, I need to work out a way to do these interviews at training because the social distancing is not ideal. I tried something a little bit different that did not work. I tried to record me asking the questions on my phone and their answers on my voice recorder. That worked well for their answers, but whatever happened on my phone, I sounded like a Dalek. So I've had to re-record everything I asked Javain Brown for this interview, so if you think the sound's a little bit off, that is why. But here's just me chatting to Javain just about his move to America from Jamaica, going to college, transition to MLS, the Whitecaps, and his season so far. Here's what he had to tell me. Hi Javain, thanks so much for chatting to us today. I guess first thing to really ask you, you've been with the Whitecaps since the start of the year, getting selected in the first round of the Super Draft. Had quite a few months under your belt now in Major League Soccer. How have you found the transition from going from the college game, the USF, and playing in the leagues over in Jamaica to what you've experienced so far in Major League Soccer?
I mean, it's a bit different, you know. You got to be consistent. You know, that's the most important thing, consistency. But you know, as I go on, you know, I learn from each and every one in the group. You know that you can't be overthinking certain stuff. You just got to work each and every day and try to improve.
When we spoke to you at the start of the year on draft day, when yourself and David Egbo kind of spoke to media after all the first couple of rounds of the draft had wrapped up, you came across excited to be here, excited to be a Whitecap, also very confident in your own abilities, what you would be able to offer this team going forward. Now, we've seen it countless times over the years here in Vancouver, other teams around the league as well. Draft picks, their minutes in that first season. Some guys can come in, get a lot of minutes. Some guys don't see the pitch at all. I mean, I'm pretty sure you were confident that you would get some minutes this year, but has the amount of minutes and basically establishing yourself as the starter at right back for a number of these games, has that come a little bit quicker than maybe what even you were expecting?
I mean, I just don't. I didn't get drafted because I don't want to come here and play. You know, I got drafted because the coach believed in me. You know, and also I came here to play. You know, I just don't come here to just sit and watch. You know, I came here to work. Obviously, it would have been a challenge. You know, but each and every day I put in the work. I try to improve myself. I try to better myself, not only on the field but on and off the field. You know, so that's been important. You know, and as I said, as the season go on, I'm gradually building more confidence. You know, which is good.
So when we spoke to you back in January, one of the aspects of your game that you felt you were needing to work on was the attacking side, because obviously you you've played a lot of good defensive play. You've been playing as centre back. You've been playing as right back over the years. But you said you felt that you needed to work on your attacking side to take this jump to the next level. From the matches that we've seen, it's certainly something that looks like you've added to the game. You've had some really good attacking performances out there for the Whitecaps, as well as on the defensive side. Would you say that's been one of the aspects that you've worked hardest on since joining up with the Whitecaps?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I've been working on, going forward, because, as you can see nowadays, fullback, like the modern day fullbacks, they tend to go forward a lot, and that's a side of a game that I said I want to really improve on. Defensively, I think I'm good, but there's still work to do. But my most important thing to do now is to just work on my attacking pieces.
So as I mentioned there, you can play centre-back, you can play right-back. For the Whitecaps, we've primarily seen you in a right-back role. Looks very comfortable out there, look like you belong at this level. How much right-back have you played in your career? Had you been primarily a centre-back, or was it kind of like splitting time between both positions?
I'm more often being a centre-back through high school, through college, but I also play right back for the national team and from my club team back home, but it doesn't matter, I've been in and out of the two positions.
Like I say, seeing you out on the pitch in MLS, you look natural. It looks like an easy transition for you to get into this team, to get into this league. Is that how it's felt for you? Because you certainly look very comfortable out there.
I mean, yeah, but I still have a little of challenge, I wouldn't say I'm at a spot that I want to be. There's always room for improvement. I also always want to better myself, as I go on.
I mean, naturally, making the move from the college game into the pros, even though you've had that experience in the leagues of Jamaica, it is still going to be a transition and a lot for you to learn. Having had those years playing football locally in Jamaica and in the leagues there, what was it that made you decide that you wanted to come over to the US, go to college at the University of South Florida, and decide to take a little bit of time away from the pro game? I mean, it could have been easy for you, I guess, to look at going overseas and just playing in a pro league over in Europe or wherever. Why was it important for you to go to college, get that education, kind of find your feet in there?
Firstly, my mom told me, I had a couple of options, either to go to school or go on trials. My mom told me, go to school and try to put in the work so you could probably get drafted or something. And, your mom never go wrong, so I tried to listen to her as much as possible, and I think I made the right decision to go to college.
Being a professional footballer, though, that was clearly what you solely had in mind that you were wanting to do?
Yeah, that was clearly my intention.
So when did you first know that you had what it took to be a pro footballer and to make it in the pro game?
When I was at the age of 15, when I first got called for the national team, going up against all those big guys that plays in England and also playing in MLS, fighting for my spot, that's when I realized that, I really have a shot at this if I stay focused, and try to do the little stuff that's necessary.
Now, talking of Jamaica, I'm sure you were avidly watching Jamaica's performance in matches at the Gold Cup. You had been named on the provisional roster for the Gold Cup, and you have played at the senior level for your country in the past. What did you make of Jamaica's performance in that tournament and the crop of clearly talented young guys like yourself that are coming through Jamaican football just now?
I mean, we have good players, but the team chemistry is not there. We don't have enough camps so the team could build together. It's just individual things, but we have great players. But I really don't want to talk about that right now. I'm just focusing on the Whitecaps right now.
So back talking Whitecaps now. You made your MLS debut against Sporting Kansas City in the match down there. How special was that moment for you, and what are your kind of personal memories of that debut?
I mean, it was a great moment, but the coach told me that just go out there and do your thing, not worry about the score that much, and that's what that was my intention. Just to go out there and just finish the game as strong as possible.
So we know when we were on a call with Mark the other week that you brought him some jerk chicken for it. That looked absolutely delicious. He said it was. You a top-notch cook in the kitchen?
Yeah, I'm not the best of cook, but I could make a couple Jamaican stuff. I could make jerk chicken, curry chicken, brown stew chicken, fried chicken. I could make a couple more stuff, but it's not. I didn't learn from my mom. It's just natural. It comes naturally.
Well, Mark did say that he would get you to make it for us at training one day, so no pressure on you, but we are all looking forward to it. We're also looking forward to seeing you play some more games for the Whitecaps. Been a great start to your Whitecaps career. Thank you for chatting to us today, and yeah, all the best, Javain. We'll see you on the pitch again soon.
Football is the game today. Football is the best game, I would say. Football is the game today. The game to play.
Javain Brown there. Happy to be here in Vancouver, doing well. Definitely one of our brightest draft picks for many a season, and not even taken first in the draft either. So looking forward to seeing his development here at the club. Keeping on the defensive theme, we talked about Florian Jungwirth being here now. Ranko, mixed performance on that first goal. I touched on it there. Would you consider at any point, and I know it's been disastrous, going to three at the back? Putting Jungwirth in there beside Ranko and Godoy? No, Zach's firmly shaking his head there. Great for the podcast. No one likes that idea at all.
No, I think you could put Flo in the midfield. And that would be a better option because then he.
Well, I said I'd wanted Andy Rose to do that, so I mean, yeah, he would fit that bill as well. So
would Ranko be better in the midfield than Flo?
I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I mean, it was very interesting at the start of that second half, seeing Ranko and Godoy tearing forward on a couple of attacks. It's like that's what you want your centre backs to be doing when you're down a goal. But like Godoy looks very comfortable moving that ball forward.
Well, he's got that right back ability, right?
Yeah. But let's hope the Whitecaps have a bounce back ability and can get some stuff done. Interesting lineup selections. We'll touch about what they might be for the San Jose game shortly, but I want to do our MLS roundup for the week, and we're just going to do the West. I'm going to rattle through a lot of this because obviously it's been a long show so far. 8 Western teams were in action on Saturday across 4 matches. First up was Minnesota. They had a 2-0 win over Houston. Fairly comfortable win for the Loons in the end. Robert Lode fired them ahead 40 minutes in after pouncing on a rebound. The keeper spilled a really fierce shot from Will Trapp from outside the box. Houston hit the bar in the first half, but they were offering very little. Brent Kallman secured the points, 90 minutes from time. Nice header off a corner. A good win for Minnesota. The Whitecaps need Houston to not be picking up points. Good result for the Whitecaps. I know it's only midway through the season, but I think we're already at the stage where we are looking at what these other teams do and how it kind of favours the Whitecaps. And it was Derby Day for the 2 other Texan teams as Austin travelled to Dallas. They couldn't make it back-to-back wins in the Texan derbies though, going down to a 2-0 scoreline. A lot of Austin fans made the trip. The atmosphere wasn't what I was expecting though, and like the stadium seemed quite sparse. I believed that Dallas were up to full capacity. It is concerning, I guess, all those fans making the travel because Texas, we talked about COVID in the last part, they've been registering 20,000+ cases a day.
It's bad.
So maybe that is keeping some folk away from stadiums, but you think about what Austin's crammed in, and obviously Austin's a lot more liberal and they've probably got a higher vaccine uptake than some of the rest of Texas, but you do wonder when some of these restrictions might come back into place at MLS stadiums. It was all Dallas in this one, and it was a bit of a disappointing derby match, all truth to be told.
Yeah, when you told me you were watching, I was like, you picked the wrong...
I know, I did. It was that or Colorado, but I love a derby, as you know, and
but Colorado
I'd seen all the Austin fans travelling, I thought, it's going to be electric, and it wasn't.
Colorado had Mac making his debut.
Yeah.
And had
Return of the Mac. I did watch the highlights of that. Dallas's goals, just to round this one up, both came in the second half. Ryan Hollingshead and Zach's boy Jesus. He got the second, Jesus Ferreira. Let's talk about Mac's Colorado now. Conference leaders KC headed to Colorado. The teams played out a 0-0 draw, but it was a very entertaining 0-0 draw. I enjoyed the highlights from this one. This is my wife's favourite stadium. I think it is. I heard her talking to her friend about how much she loved Dick, so I thought, oh, big Colorado Rapids fan. The most notable thing from this match, of course, was Mac making his Rapids debut. And he did well. He looks weird in a green and white uniform, but maybe he'll move to Celtic. Maybe that's going to be the European move that he gets. His Fife's away strip at the moment is green and white as well, so just pitch that out there.
Sorry, have I ever mentioned to you guys what the Colorado Avalanche ice hockey stadium is named?
Don't think so, and I don't know.
It's called Ball Arena.
So you either go to Dick's Sporting Good Park, Ball Arena, or Mile High Stadium?
Yeah. Fantastic. I obviously moved to the wrong place. Colorado, here I come. I couldn't live somewhere that's not by the water. I've got to be honest, it's like I like my ocean. I've always been no more than 20 minutes away from the sea or the ocean, so I don't know how folk do that.
But they got rapids there.
It's not the sea or the ocean.
Can we? I know we talked about this last week, but does Mac have 1 year left on his MLS deal?
I think so. I think this is
because if he is really planning on leaving and they're going to get nothing for them, that million is starting to feel crazy. There must be some.
He signed an extension by 1 year. He'll be here next season. Is what I mean.
But still, $1 million for a year and a half guaranteed. That feels weird.
Well, unless they have a thing where they can see that they're going to deal him off. Remember we mentioned it.
Yeah,
that it might
if
be
he has
more
a good season, they can sell him.
Yeah,
either winter, they can sell him in the summer.
But again, LAFC is more interested in GAM because it helps them to keep the salary cap down, whereas Colorado will get them more real
money,
cash.
right. Because they only get the 600, 750.
Exactly. They're not going to spend that on anything either.
Yeah.
Like Colorado will be disappointed they didn't get the victory in this one because they were the far better team. It was a poor performance by KC, but I mean, if points are going to get picked up by the teams above the Whitecaps, at least make it one. So I mean that's fine. Colorado though, it's too early to say they've secured a playoff spot, but I mean they look fairly comfortable the way they've been playing. The additions that they've made, they're an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, Johnny couldn't get it on at Dick's Sporting Goods.
No.
Was Nico on the bench?
I was just gonna ask.
I don't know that. I didn't look at the bench.
I didn't see if he came on, but yeah.
You kind of wonder if his days might be a bit numbered there, going forward, but I don't know. Saturday's action wrapped up with Portland winning a 5-goal thriller with RSL at Piggy Park. Asprilla fired the Timbers ahead from the spot 10 minutes in. VAR stepped in to give that penalty. I kind of feel it was a little harsh, but by the letter of the law, I mean, it was a penalty. Jimmy Chara doubled the lead in the 29th minute. Nice finish after great build-up passing movement but by the Timbers. Albert Rusnak pulled one back for the visitors 5 minutes before half-time. He should never have been allowed to put that goal away, but Felipe Mora, 4 goals in his last 5 matches now for Portland. Beautiful goal just past the hour mark, beat the offside trap, collected a pass, spun around, finished with aplomb. Put the Timbers 3-1 up. That was one of my goals of the weekend from the games that I saw. I haven't had a chance to see the Eastern games yet. And the Krylach was released, but only with 10 minutes to go. He was on for the whole game, but he only scored with 10 minutes to go to make it an interesting ending, but the Timbers held on for the 3 points.
Well, and it had the little spice at the end where Yumi's brother, Diego, got sent off for a very, very easy second yellow to give as he stomped on the guy's ankle.
Yeah. There's no malice in it. He just went over the ball.
Right,
but it was
stomp is not the right term. Sorry.
Yeah, it was a clear sending off. Timbers keeper, Ivicic. Couple of big saves in this one. He's been a bit ropey so far, but he wasn't bad in this. Only game on Sunday in the West, aside from the Whitecaps, was the Californian Derby, one of many. San Jose hosted LAFC. Watched the highlights just before came on to record this. Now the Quakes are now unbeaten in 7. They've suddenly hit their stride. Only 2 wins in there, but it's still picking up points every single week. They're climbing the table. Yule hit the bar for them early on. Then Nathan scored 11 minutes in. We wondered where Mr. Whitecaps was. Playing for San Jose. Put them 1-0 up. It looked like Espinoza had scored initially, and I was going to say there's no way that free kick should ever have found a way into the back of the net, but Nathan got a little touch on it. Quakes made it 2-0 in the 29th minute. Javier Lopez. Yule scored an own goal to make it 2-1. And then no more scoring in the second half. LAFC struggling to find form just now. They've lost Segura, so defensively they're kind of struggling. I don't know. We talk about bold predictions and stuff. I'll throw this one out to you. If LAFC don't make the postseason, does Bob Bradley keep his job? I say no.
Nah, I think
I would be bold to get rid of him. I know his storied career, but it's just not working for him.
How many seasons has it been now with it? Like how?
This would be 3, at least, maybe 4.
The big concern is, I think this is year 3. I might be wrong, but is like we talked. Oh, maybe it's more than 3. Because
it will be, because this is MDS's 3rd season here, and he had a season.
Right.
Season 4.
So part of what you're seeing, although they've compensated for it, is that they no longer get the new MLS club GAM money, right? And so you have less GAM, less money to deal with and work with and stuff. So I think that's one of the issues that they faced. Although again, they're doing well to generate that on their own. I think you got to stay with him. I guess it depends on what his contract situation is. If he's out of contract, maybe then that's
I would think it would be a 4-year deal. Seems like it would be the max they would have given him, surely.
But did he get renewed earlier? Like I haven't heard news of that, but I think they ride him longer.
They have to spend on their defense. We keep saying this.
True.
It's like, man, it's like you've got all this money. At least get a defender in.
They still feel haunted by like the Walker Zimmerman departure.
Yeah,
it's not really haunting when you're the one that did it.
Well, that's very true. But those results leave an interesting table. Seattle had a bye week, so looking at how the standings are,
the Flanders needed it.
Oh yeah,
they're in a bad run.
KC extended lead at the top, 18 games played, 34 points. They've got a 1-point lead over Seattle, 2-point lead over the Galaxy. If the Galaxy had won tonight, looking at the goal differences, the Galaxy would have been second if they got the win against the Whitecaps tonight. Colorado, third, 28 points from 16 games. So they've got 2 games in hand. Win both of them and you're tied with Sporting Kansas City. They're looking good. They're looking comfortable. Minnesota as well. They've found a rich vein of form. I like what they play. 17 games played, 26 points. I think that top 5, maybe not set in those positions, but those top 5 should be playoff bound, barring a collapse late on from one of those teams, which is certainly possible. Then you're looking at Portland in 6th, 23 points from 17 games. LAFC, 23 points in 7. They've played 18. You've got Salt Lake on 21 from 17. Dallas on 21 from 18. San Jose on 21 from 18. Houston on 18 from 18. And then Austin and the Whitecaps, 16 from 17 games played. Tight. And of course, Whitecaps heading to Austin a week on Wednesday. Big game. They've got to win that. That is a must-win game.
These 2 next games are going to be huge.
I was going to say, is San Jose a must-win game? I mean, I know August's early to talk about must-win games, but it feels like Austin definitely is. San Jose, I'm 75% saying it's a must-win game.
I'm thinking that San Jose is a better potential win because it's more like the environment they're used to playing on the coast.
But I mean, they're in this
going into
form.
Austin, you're going to deal with you're going to deal with the heat. I think the San Jose game, their form is like they're drawing games similar to the Whitecaps. They can easily take advantage of that too. The issue is right now injuries is going to be the big concern, and whether they can put a full lineup on that day.
I mean, if they lose against San Jose on Friday, they're 8 points behind them. With a game in hand, but 8 points with so many teams above you, because obviously the Whitecaps are still bottom after that with the tiebreakers. That's a lot to make up. Austin, for me, I know the temperature and everything, they're very beatable, albeit with a great atmosphere. Mark told me on Friday when we were speaking about this, and wrote a little piece about it on AFTN today, so you can check that out if you want to read what he said. He says the team have no fear going into all these away games, and in part it's because they've been on the road for so long that it's like, yeah, we can go, but they have to follow the blueprint of what they did by taking the game to the other teams, and a big part of that has been Christian Dahomey. So hopefully he is back for these 2 games. I mean, it's all speculation just now because we don't know. If he's back, he's clearly going to be back in the starting lineup. Cava, have to speculate he might not be good to go on Friday. So you're probably looking at Brian White leading the line, hopefully with Dahomey and Caicedo either side of him. Midfield, what would you do there, considering the performance of Caio tonight?
Well, I would essentially, for this whole lineup, I'm just going to go over the whole lineup. You put the most healthiest players closest to their natural positions. That's what you essentially have to do at this point. Wherever, I don't know who's injured and who's not, so it's really just a coin flip for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, what about midfield for you, Zach? Who do you go with?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably forgetting all. So Baldy's back, right? It was suspension.
Baldy's back. Yep, he was actually at the under 23 game today, so it's nice that he came out to watch that.
Oh, that is nice. Yeah, I still want to see more of a Owusu before.
I liked what I saw from him when he came on.
Yeah, he looked hungry.
Now, interestingly, we've all been saying, "Oh, where's he been?" And Joe Deasy posed the question, "What does he have to do to get minutes?" And I said, "It has to be Christmas for Jingles to go all the way." But he looked good when he came on. When Mark said post game, he said, "Oh, he's finally fully recovered from the injury that he had."
Oh,
so he's obviously not been full to go, which is why we've not seen him. If he's good to go, I start him, Bikel, and probably Baldy. But I think Tiber might have done enough to get the start, even though I'd prefer not to.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would like those 3. Although,
I wouldn't push Owusu in there that quickly if he's just finally getting fit.
But he's had like months of getting ready.
Yeah, but game fitness. I'm talking about game fitness. Will he be able to go fully?
But then he could go 60 and you bring Ryan on for half an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah, that would be. I like that. But Owusu, Bikel, and Baldy sounds kind of fun. I really think Russell's got to be a guy off the bench. Like, I don't know. You're right. They might do it another way, but I know this is just Sunday was an awful performance for Caillou. But what do you see his role like long term? Because earlier I would have said it's like a destroyer, like a Bikel or a Owusu or Baldy, maybe, with Caillou and Gauld.
Yeah, I mean, I that for me that would be the ideal 3, and I think we'll see the best of those 3 next season.
The thing is, I don't have an issue. Like, I think we can very much see Caillou on the field. I think he might have got, been sent a message, but been getting getting substituted off at halftime, and maybe he picks it up and he actually gets back on the pitch and does the job. So I can easily see him on the pitch. Just because he got substituted off at halftime doesn't mean he's done. He's gonna get benched for the next game.
I agree with you. I hope that's not the case. I hope him not being done is the case.
Remember, he has had a little bit of a niggle as well for some of these games, and he is still finding his feet in the league. I mean, the other option, Naveed, is you put somebody like Andy Rose into the DM role, maybe even Jungwirth.
I'm just literally looking at consistency. I'm looking at those 9 home games. I really hope MDS starts keeping whoever those 3 are.
Yeah, that's what he's going to want.
Yeah, that would be ideal because it hasn't been the case for the whole season so far.
Yeah,
I mean, he has a lot of options, but I think consistency is going to help.
Well, we'll see how things go. Not sure when we're going to do a record for the next weekend show. We might do it Saturday, but we'll keep you posted. Check our social media for that. That is it for the Whitecaps chat. That is it for the MLS chat. That is it for the men's soccer chat for this episode of the show. We're going to be back talking about the Golden Girls, the Canadian women's national team, making Canada proud once again. We'll be back chatting about that and the future of women's soccer in this country after this.
This is Atiba Hutchinson, and you're listening to the AFTN Show.
Taking you nowhere. Angel, come up, baby. Look at that sky, life's begun. Nights are warm and the days are young. Come up, baby. Lose my feet, I lost, that's all. Once I'm begging you, save a little soul.
Welcome back to the final part of this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. And we've gone for an old classic to kick off this part from 1976, the legendary David Bowie, Golden Years, from his Station to Station album. And of course, I've played that for the Golden Girls. The Canadian women's national team are Olympic champions. How good does it feel to say that? Did you ever think it was going to happen, Zach, after all the close calls and heartbreak of the last couple of Olympics?
I mean, I thought for sure in this Olympics they get past Brazil, but when you come up against such an old nemesis with such a horrendous record against them in the semifinals, the way they did against the States, that in and of itself was like winning the
gold. Yeah, exactly.
And coming against Sweden, I thought, okay, they're going to lose to Sweden. They're going to get silver. It's going to be, a step forward. But I mean, I wish we were talking about this at the beginning of the show, because I know this is a Whitecaps centric show, but there's a lot of Whitecaps content in this women's national team.
There is
in the day and from now. But no, I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal what they did. Like, I was sitting here in my living room by myself with everyone else sleeping in the house, watching the game. I know we text messaging a little bit, but like it's crazy. Like I was not weeping, might be a strong term, but like I was in tears. Like it was so joyful. It was such a joyful moment. And it's such an amazing accomplishment. And I appreciate a lot about how they did it. Like there's so many different things to talk about in my opinion. But like one of the things is the women's game in Canada's women's game has come so far. And like, even if you go back to the World Cup here, even since then, it's drastic might be too heavy of a word, but it's significantly improved since then. Like
because there was a worry in certain quarters, I was one of them, that the rest of the world were kind of catching up with the Canadian program, and some countries may, like England is a great example, maybe taking over those spots.
Well, that's the thing though, the way they played football, right? Like they like I know things didn't always come off, and they still use a long ball here and there to stretch the field, to stretch the defense, to use their quick players, abilities to get behind and stuff like that. But the way that they passed, the way that they, a lot of time, one-touch passing, the way they played out of pressure, sometimes, or especially against Brazil, I think it was not really good for my heart, I don't think. But I don't know, just the quality that they played at. Now, obviously this team, especially in the knockout round, was not great on the offensive side of things, right?
Yeah,
Like correct me if I'm wrong.
Defensively superb.
defensively amazing.
as they were in all the warm-up games for this.
Yeah, but they, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the knockout stages of this tournament, we only scored from the penalty spot. Am I not wrong? Is that not right? It was 0-0 against Brazil? Or was
0-0 against Brazil. And 1-0 against the US. That was Jesse Fleming goal. And then 1-1. And that was Jesse Fleming penalty kick as well.
They were all from the penalties. Every single goal was from the penalties.
But they had chances.
Oh, no, they did.
In all those games. And then obviously, you're calling penalty shots. Those penalty kicks came from the being able to get behind the defense and earning the penalty. So
the two penalties they created, especially the Sinclair one in the final, I thought came from good attacking play.
Mm-hmm. And you got to think of it too that during that whole knockout stage, they only gave up one goal to Sweden. They never gave a goal to US, and they didn't give up a goal to Brazil.
Yeah, and I haven't read much, but I think there must be a significant.
Well, they didn't play US in the group stages.
I'm talking about the knockout stage
in the semifinal.
Oh, sorry.
In that game, I'm sure there's lots of Americans who feel that the PK given it for the foul on Deanne Rose was not a penalty. But it doesn't matter. The referees did. The VAR.
Referee's always right.
Yeah. And the fact is they converted.
Yeah, I would hate to be a Minnesota United and U.S. women's national team fan in the same week this week.
That'd have been tough. I mean, what about you, Steve? Where did you watch the game? What did it mean to you to see them finally win that goal?
Yeah, I was watching it while working. I even didn't answer a few calls in order to keep watching the game.
You don't admit that on our show.
Nobody listens to the show at work.
You'll soon find out tomorrow.
Yeah, but I had to watch. I did have to watch it on a little bit of a tape delay because I got interrupted a few times because of work. But just unbelievable. Like I myself was kind of getting very emotional over the win. I always do whenever somebody from Canada wins something huge. And for me, I first thing that I went back to was you, Michael. You were there when we were interviewing them prior to the World Cup here. When we had the whole like carousel of people coming in and having chats with them, and Jessie Fleming was one of the people we spoke to. I think she was like 15 at the time. 15.
Yeah, I
both of us were nervous.
That.
Both of us were nervous about talking to her because she was 15, 16.
Like two old men sitting chatting.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
It
was just odd to me. Like, luckily, I think I still didn't. I have that much white hair back then, so it was okay. I wasn't that old. Didn't feel that old.
What's your favorite jam, Jesse?
Yeah. And so it was just odd. Like I don't, talking to like Sophie Schmidt. I know she didn't. I don't think she played at all.
She did.
No, she played a little bit here and there. She came on as a sub, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I might have missed the part.
I think she played in the Great Britain game. I think.
Okay. And then you got Erin McLeod there as well. I remember having a great chat with her, even though she didn't play. I know she didn't play a minute at all, but she was definitely somebody that's been carrying the flag. And then you got, the coolest thing was Karina LeBlanc is the one in the studio, and she's emotional about it. It was just like just through the generations. And the biggest thing, like we mentioned about it, like other Olympics, the 2012 one where they won the bronze. And then, the point people made that, Julia Grosso was the one that said, I want to be there too. And she's the one that scores the winning penalty kick from Vancouver.
That was
former Whitecap.
Wonderful.
And then, kind of following the Hutema family. And then Jordan gets on the pitch, somebody who wasn't even on the team. And that's another thing about Sophie Schmidt. Wasn't going to be on the team until they expanded the rosters. So it was fantastic. That potentially they could have missed her on the field. So many different storylines in there. Stephanie Labbe, who had to sit behind Karina LeBlanc and Erin McLeod for so many years, and then finally got her chance to shine and played a huge part in all those games and everything like that. So just too many storylines for one podcast, let alone one part of a podcast.
All right.
And I know folk will say, why did you not lead with it? It was the main story of the week. It's because we are a Whitecap-centric podcast, but I'm saving the best to last. That was the main reason.
I'm going to be an emotional wreck after talking about this. So you don't want me talking about this right off the bat anyways.
So Naveed, the German Canadian that lives in the US, how did you watch the game? Did you watch it live?
I was watching it live, and amazing. I mean, accomplishment. Super proud of the girls. Really, they rock. Especially happy for two of the people on their staff. Adam Day, he's actually part of the staff, so really happy for him.
I know he left FC Tigers to go and do this,
and it all worked out. Good decision, yeah. And I think Steve maybe knows Jasmine Munder. She's a performance analyst. She played for UBC, so there's like a UBC connection.
I remember chanting her last year at UBC.
So
she could have gone on, and we'll talk about the lack of opportunities. She was the ideal person that's come through locally that could have gone on if there'd been stuff to play.
Exactly. So super happy for both of them, and man, the penalties, ups and downs, like emotions. That was crazy. That was crazy, but amazing accomplishments. Super proud of them.
Yeah, Schmidt played against Great Britain.
Okay,
I think everyone played except for Aaron.
But the other thing is they got to stop this this like whole thing about they're such an inspiration for girls across Canada, because they're an inspiration for everybody. Let's not sell them.
100%.
The amount of guys that has been trying to buy the women's strip, and they can't because it's not done in a men's cut. And folk are like, well, you can buy the men's kit and just get a woman's name on it, and it's like it's a different kit.
Yeah, it's like they've been inspiring for a lot of years. Like, I guarantee you, if you ask some players down the road, like in the Julia Grosso time range, they're going to be saying they were inspired by the women, and you need to do that. So. That's the one thing that, give them the respect they deserve and tell them that they're actually an inspiration for both men and women across Canada.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I thought Sweden were going to win. I didn't think, and then it went to 1-0 because I didn't get up at 5. That's my other full disclosure. So I was watching it on delay. It went to 1-0 and I was like, that's it. So then I just fast forwarded. And then it got to 1-1. It's like, I have to watch this again. And I sensed there wasn't going to be another goal in normal time. So I fast forwarded to the end of that. And I couldn't sit through extra time. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to fast forward. I think this is going to penalties. It did. And then I watched penalties. And, oh, man. I love a penalty shootout. And it always takes me back to when I was a little boy watching them with my mum, because my mum got so excited. Didn't matter who it was. If it was a penalty shootout on the telly, she just loved watching it. She was just so excited with that. And I'm the same. It's like, it's a crappy way to decide a gold medal game.
Unless you're the winning team.
Well, if you win a team, it's still crappy though. I genuinely think that. I don't know what the solution is, because golden goal didn't work either. I think those two teams could have been playing for a long time to have got a golden goal the way things were going. They were both shutting up shop there towards the end.
But I think Canada had more of the chances, I feel like.
Yeah. Some of those penalties, though, were awful. And when they missed the 3 in a row, I was like, oh, man. But, I mean, Sweden threw that away in the shootout. Let's be totally honest here. That was in their control. And nerves plays a part in it. But Labi, absolutely tremendous. I loved, I don't know if you guys picked up on this.
Well, she was staring down the player.
She was like smiling and just like so happy.
And she wouldn't, she made them like get the ball. She made them walk extra long to get the ball as well. She wouldn't even help them get the ball at all or whatever, move it up.
She's a great woman. She was involved with Calgary Foothill. She wanted to play in the USL and they wouldn't let her because it was a woman playing in the man's thing. And it's like, that could have been a groundbreaking thing. I mean, it was tremendous. Christine Sinclair finally getting a gold medal.
That's the biggest.
What they did at her centre in Burnaby by putting the medal on the outside, beautiful. Yeah. I hope that's there forever. I'm imagining it is. And I mean, I haven't spoken a lot to her over the years because she's obviously the woman that's in demand. And I'm like, I'll go for the ones that's not, because you're going to get more time with them. But whenever I've spoken to her, she's been great. She's given really thoughtful answers. And she's carried this program for years. And like when she missed that penalty in the shootout in the quarterfinals, it was like heartbreaking. Because if she was the one that cost them, she'd never forgiven herself. And then you saw that, I can't remember who it was, might have been Jessie Fleming, but someone mouthed after, "We've got you," when they won it. I'm like tearing up just like talking about this. But like it meant so much for her to win it. Jessie Fleming, as Steve said, nerves of steel to take those penalties. And I mean, you saw it in the shootout. Like nerves can certainly get to you. There's a lot of folk in that shootout that normally in a penalty would have scored, you think.
Yeah. The Swedish keeper had obviously seen her penalty against the US. So went that way. She went the opposite way. And then in the shootout, I honestly thought she was going to go down the middle. And I think the keeper thought that a little bit. And the keeper stayed central, but was leaning to her left. And she went the other way, which was, the composure is something else.
Yeah. Julia Grosso's winning kick, though, I thought she'd put it over. I've got to say, I didn't think it had gone in. But if you haven't seen it, check out the reaction on Twitter from our teammates down in Texas at the university watching it. Oh, because they're chatting, waiting for the next kick to get taken, and then it flashes up that's her that's taking it, and they're all like, "Ah!" And then they're watching it, and then she scores, and the place just goes absolutely crazy. It just erupts. It's just wonderful. And then the women sharing a lot of the videos after the game from the locker room. Tremendous. Yeah. The shit thing about it is we've not been able to speak to any of them during the competition, because if you're not an IOC accredited journalist, you can't speak to them. And Canada Soccer didn't do any separate calls. US Soccer did for their team. So that was disappointing. I thought they might have done something this weekend to put some of them on the phone to us, but they haven't. So hopefully they do a big thing when they come back. Of course, the women are from all over the country, all over the world. So we'll see what they do.
From what I hear, they are going to do some kind of victory tour or something.
Oh, they have to play some games, if nothing else. Even play against each other 11 aside. It's like you'd watch that.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic stuff. But I want to talk about the other big thing that comes out of this. What does this do for the women's game? Like Canada Soccer in general, great, as Steve mentioned, but the women's game in particular, just to round off this show. There was all this talk during the World Cup about the legacy of the World Cup, what it was going to do with the World Cup being here, what it was going to do for the women's game, the inspiration that it was going to be to young girls coming through seeing this. And it has, to an extent, done that. To an extent. Because 6 years later, there's still not a professional women's club in Canada. There's not a professional league. There's things in the works. The CPL have talked about that they want to do that in the future, but they still have to get their own like men's side of it up and running, and there's been teething problems there.
Yeah, I think that might come after they recognize the men's player union, or
yeah. So what we 2035 we could be looking at this rate? I don't know.
Well, the CPL, like it's kind of like they're, hey, one day we'd like to have relegation and promotion. They say it because I do think they believe it, but they also know that it helps them to say that with the soccer purists or the football purists.
Yes.
And I think it's very similar with this. We want to have a women's league as a part of our setup.
Well, it's the big elephant in the room, and it's the shocking elephant in the room that there's not even a pro team in Canada. I mean, way back when I first moved over, there was pro teams in Canada. Whitecaps had theirs, Ottawa had theirs. How have you gone backwards in the 10 to 15 years?
Well, I mean, behind the scenes, and more recently in the public, there's, I think, been understandable reasons why some of those teams no longer exist.
Yeah, I'd taken that out of it, obviously. Now, the new proposed BC League One, the mandate was any team that joins that has to have a women's programme, has to have a women's team, there's going to be a women's division. So the Whitecaps are in that league. So the Whitecaps, it's going to be the Rex Elite, I would imagine, unless they form a new team specifically for this. But it's a semi-pro league. So they'll have that. TSS Rovers will have that. Victoria Highlanders will have that. The other teams that are in it that I won't name as well. There was meant to be a proposed Canadian National League. That was one of the things for that. That doesn't look like it's going to get the go-ahead and sanctioning from Canada Soccer just now. Christine Sinclair, after winning gold, I want to read you her quote, as most of you will have seen this. She said, "I hope that we'll see some investment in the women's game. I think it's time Canada gets a professional league or some professional teams. And if a gold medal and 3 Olympic medals doesn't do that, nothing will. So I think it's time for Canada to step up."
Now,
Yeah.
I want to mention that the thing is the federation definitely should help set up the league, but they can't be financially responsible. The thing is, they're gonna have to find owners who are willing to invest money into the league.
Yep.
Even like something like the CPL, that's not gonna fly unless you get like 6-8 people to bring out the money, because it is going to be, even the CPL right now is a money loser right now until you
that's
develop
exactly it. And it's like we all want it, and let's be totally realistic here. And I've had chats since the women won the gold with somebody that is involved in the women's game. I'll just leave it at that. Somebody who has spent money making sure that there's women teams and various things. And it wasn't Greg Carefoot. But they've lost a fortune by having women's teams. And how many people are out there that are philanthropic enough to put that kind of money in to make a sustainable selection of pro teams or a pro league? You need somebody, as with the CPL, that's prepared to lose money in the early days of this league. And there's going to be folk listening to this going, how do you know they'll lose money? Trust me, they will lose money. I've spoken to somebody that's got successful teams and they've lost a fortune. Yes, there's interest. Is there interest when it's not a World Cup year? Is there interest when it's not an Olympic year? Yeah, there is, but not as much. And it's all about bums on seats, but even that is not sustainable. If you go for a Canada-wide league, the travel is horrendous, the costs are horrendous, the costs are prohibitive. The CPL, just go and speak to some of their owners, they'll tell you that. If they have an NWSL team, the Whitecaps had inquired, and it wasn't because they didn't want to, it was the costs of it. They lost a lot of money on WFC too. They were going to lose even more money on having a women's team, so they walked away from that. They might still be interested. I mean, quickly going round, we'll start with Zach, then Steve, then Naveed. If there's a pro league in Canada, do you see that as the way forward? Or is the way forward now to have Canadian teams joining the established NWSL? Zach?
That's a good question. I think it's, one is the quick fix and one is the long-term solution. So the quick fix is, just get some teams in the NASL. It's quicker. You can do it quicker. The league's established.
They've got broadcast deals. It's shown worldwide.
All that kind of stuff. The long term, what I believe is a long term better answer, which doesn't, which may not satiate the desires of the current players, is to develop an actual league in the country. And we had conversations around this, talking about the CPL back in the day. I remember talking with like a Jeff Tinker about this, this guy who usually sits in the room silently when we do podcasts, about how your two options are top up or grassroots up. And the CPL, for a number of good reasons, chose to go, top down, right? But I think with the women's game, it might be a better long-term viable option to do like grassroots up. And to, like you're saying, like build, or like you sort of, I think we're hinting at, build a regional leagues that can build up into a national league in the long term with a very clear and well thought out plan on a logistical side and obviously on a financial side.
I mean, Steve, I was going to say, what do you think of that? But also, like, factoring the fact that if you have regional, is the quality there? Do you attract the Christine Sinclairs, the national team players?
Well, you're not going to attract, and I don't even know if you're going to attract them to a national league, because the European leagues, the women's leagues, are very financially viable for them. They're going to make way more money,
paying a lot more.
Yeah, they're going to make more money in Europe at this point. So you wouldn't be able to bring some of the players back from Europe if you had a national league. The thing is right now, I agree with Zach that having a couple teams, maybe one on the West Coast, one on the East Coast, to go with the NWSL, that would be a better option. And then with the caveat that those teams, when there is a Canadian league ready to go, they have to come back to the Canadian league. They cannot be. This is like a thing where they can establish the two top teams, and then through those regional leagues that you're talking about, if you do one in BC, like in BC and Ontario and Quebec, one in the prairies, maybe across the whole prairies or something like that, you can build areas and clubs which can be essentially promoted. Like the stronger clubs in those things gets promoted up to that national team. So you already have a well-established program in there. And so that's where I would say that you would go with initially. And so you have essentially you'll have those two teams coming back from the NWSL, and then you'll have strong, teams that can play with those teams in the full national league. I think that's the best way to go. And I would say even that would have been a really good way to do CPL as well, that you do it that way. But CPL, you have a lot of Canadians out there playing in lower leagues, and you also have a lot of international players still out there. The women's leagues, they might not have a vast talent pool right now, and that's what you got to build up with that regional league.
Yeah, it's a slow build.
It's a long term. They need to look long term instead of having, because the short term should have happened a long time ago. Honestly,
yes,
yeah. 2015, after 2015, there should have been two teams ready to go in NWSL. But unfortunately, if you don't find the owners again, the people that were willing to invest their money, knowing that they might not get it back, you're not going to get a team or a league going on.
The one concern that I have though is, you had all these opportunities. You had the Women's World Cup here. You had the success of the team. If you still can get the interest from people to invest into this, like when then? Like pretty much what Christine Sinclair said. Like when? What is holding back, or what is it? I guess there's just not enough interest, to be honest.
And the problem is people at the top, the people with the money, they clearly don't have the confidence that these leagues can go in. You get in NWSL, we've had so many teams that fold in the women's teams, right? So you already have that happening.
And the other women's leagues around North America as well. Some of the leagues have folded. Hockey, ice hockey, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most popular sport in Canada, and there is no women's league there, and there is plenty of talent to go around in there. So that's one example of something that is, should work but isn't working. The one league that's been successful is the WNBA, and why are they successful? Because they have the backing of the men's league there, as and even in Europe you have men's leagues that are supporting the women's league. So if my feeling is that that this is going to happen, you have to have strong men's teams that can support them. And before, I remember seeing, I can't remember what South American country it was. It could be Colombia, it could be another country, where they showed videos of a men's team and the crowd there, and the women's team had nobody there at all. So they basically made a mandate where they had to make it as one. So they basically kind of stripped the shirts, where you play half the badge was on the men's kit and half the badge was on the women's kit, kind of putting them together and making it one cohesive group. Like you have the men's team and the women's team at the same level, and then you got an explosion of supporters at the women's games. So you got to have something like that where you can have people can understand that this is the same level as what we're showing you on the men's side.
Yeah, there's a lot of good way you say that. I agree with something you said earlier, Steve, in terms of if they are going to go for the quick fix of NWSL teams, it has to be tied into an understanding that when there is an actual Canadian league, that those teams will then be a part of it. I love that. I love that idea. And yeah, I do think that when we look at what's happening in women's football around the world, not all of it, but a significant amount of it is, as Steve has said, it's tied into football clubs that have men's teams that are investing in the women's game. I know at Bayern, I know 2 of those Swedish players are Bayern Munich players, and they've continued to develop and grow their women's team, and they care about it, and they care when they make the quarterfinals and semifinals, whatever, the Champions League in Europe and all that kind of stuff. I also agree with what you said earlier in terms of, I mean, these players like Sinclair and this group of players need to help advocate to bring a league about. But the viewing public needs to understand that not many of them will play in it, because even when you look at the Canadian Premier League, of developing a men's league in Canada, I mean, most of our national team players are not playing in that league. It's a long-term play to develop players who we will then later see represent the country in the national team, and it's going to take a decade or a generation, for that to really happen and develop. And it's going to be I would imagine at least the same, if not similar, for the women's game. So yeah, I mean, a CPL women's league is not going to be able to entice Buchanan to leave Leon. Or
no, but then folk aren't going to go and watch that. That's the problem.
Well, they
not
need
enough
to bring
people to make it financially viable.
Well, and essentially, initially, they need to bring in veterans like a Sophie Schmidt. Even Christine Sinclair needs to, if they want a league, she needs to play on one of those Canadian teams if they do NWSL. Like
she's surely going to retire shortly, no?
I know, but what I'm saying is though, like those kind of veterans, like a Desiree Scott, needs to play in those teams if they don't have if they're not in Europe or whatever.
But it's easy for us to say. It's easy for us to spend people's money as owners and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Today, I talked about the under-23 Whitecaps and Tigers game, and there was about 600 or 800 people at that. So I was chatting to somebody, just messaging them tonight, and they were like, "Oh, was it free to get in?" I was like, "Yeah." And they said, "Oh, they should have charged like about $5 or $10 to get in. They'd have made a lot of money." I was like, "Yeah, people would not have turned up or paid if you had to pay that. They've turned up because it's free, and therein lies part of the problem." It's like, oh, I wish we could watch more women's game or the CPL games or the national team games on TV. Right. Why can't we? Well, you can get one soccer. I don't want to pay that.
Yeah.
That's what it all boils down to. Just to round this off, because I know we've got a long show here, but we will talk a lot more about this. It's something I'm wanting to delve into a lot more, and we'll get some other folk on to chat about it. So, like Naveed, you came through the college system at UBC. You were in a team with so many good players that the opportunities weren't there in the CPL. We've talked about this before. And there's a kind of generation that was kind of lost. A lot of them went to VMSL. Some went overseas. Some didn't want to do that. Some just got into work and that was it. Your time at college, obviously, there was the women's team that was successful at UBC as well. How many women, how many young girls do you feel have been lost to the game of football just because those opportunities weren't there even when you were around?
Oh, it's the same situation as with the guys. I mean, like I said about Jasmine Munder, like she's one example. Like she, at that time if there would be a league, I mean, she would be going on for better things for sure. So having something like that would be ideal for all younger girls, women. I mean, seriously, it would be ideal.
The college game's great.
It's great.
So
it's
many
great.
of them.
Yeah. But after
that's the highest level. Yeah.
That's it. Like I said,
pretty much. Even the local leagues, you've got the MWSL, I think it's called.
Right.
Here.
Yeah.
It's not a high level.
No. And I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day. I mean, literally, the highest girls can play is the university level, which is sad.
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I mean, hopefully it'll change. Just to round this off, just a quick yes or no. We'll go round the table. We'll start with Zach. The next World Cup's in 2 years' time down in Australia and New Zealand. Do you think there'll be a professional team in Canada by the time that World Cup starts in 2 years? Zach?
Sadly, no.
Steve?
I agree, unfortunately.
David?
No, unfortunately. Yeah.
I think the same, which is terrible. Let's hope we're all wrong.
Yeah.
Let's hear your thoughts on it. So, like, you can get in touch on Twitter at AFTN Canada. You can leave a comment on our aftn.ca, the page that has this podcast. Or if you want to send a more detailed response, send us an email, aftncanada@hotmail.com. We'd love to hear what you think would work. You can say, yeah, fans will come out and watch because, look, they turned out to watch the women's team when they've played at BC Place. That's not on a regular weekly basis. If you think that is going to change, tell us why. Tell us why you think that is the case. Do you think there's enough people out there to put their hands in the pocket to attend games, but also to own clubs?
Yeah.
I'm really curious to hear what all your thoughts are on that.
There's one thing more. One thing I just want to say one more thing. Canada Soccer, I 100% guarantee you, would love to have a teams in Canada or a league. Like they want this to happen because it helps their sport and helps elevate their sport to another level if they have.
Also, surely it's in their remit as well that they're meant to do that.
Yeah, so they want to do this. It's not like I saw somebody putting out a petition, which is great. I understand that you want to do that stuff, but you're sending a petition to Canada Soccer for something that they want to do. Like that's something they want to do. It's nothing they don't want to do. And currently, I believe they're still paying salaries for several players. They were doing it before. I don't know if they still
down in
do
the
it or not.
NWSL.
They cover the cost of some of them.
Yeah, they fund the national team players.
So that'll
some of the national team players.
So they can get a league or a team together. They can stop. That'll actually save them money by doing that as well. So it's something that's definitely beneficial for them to have this happening.
Well, that was a good chat. Really enjoyed that. It's been an enjoyable show. Hope you felt so as well listening at home. We're going to round it off, though, as we always do with this week's Wavelength. If you're a new listener, basically Wavelength is the part of the show where we play you a song all about football by a proper band, occasionally by footballers or teams, but mostly by bands. We're going back to 2015 for this one. It's an English band that I've played many times on the show before. They're called Squeeze. I had tickets to go and see them last year, but of course that never happened. This is a song from their album Cradle to the Grave, which was the soundtrack to the BBC TV show of the same name, which is a biopic about the radio DJ Danny Baker. A big fan of Danny's and a big football fan as well. This is their song, Beautiful Game.
Watch the game like we always did. We seem to lose more than we win. The ref would sweat as we blame him, and then the fights would start up where the buses park. I dodged a few black eyes. Believe me, it was good to be alive. The tribal path led to the park, where we debated how we won. And I'm outside the wayward sun. It smashed some fellas on his back, and it all kicks off again. As ever, there's no one to take the blame. As time goes by, I search with vigor. The days we had seem so much bigger, and everyone would point the finger, so we would do the same. To be mesmerized by the beautiful game. My old man passed down the flame of loss. The team we loved just gathered moss. And a rolling stone you wouldn't toss. But if we win or lose, we're in each other's shoes with blood upon our shirts. Believe me, you know how that hurts. As time goes by, I search with vigor. The days we had seemed so much bigger, and everyone would point the finger, so we would do the same. To be mesmerized by the beautiful game.
Squeeze there from 2015. Beautiful game. Been a lot of beautiful football to watch in the last few weeks. Hope you've all enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed that song. Hope you've enjoyed this show. That is it. Just before we go, we'll let everyone know where you can find us online and any final thoughts. Let's kick things off with our guest, who might be a regular if we negotiate the contract. He's asking for like TAM money, but I don't know that we can do that. Naveed, where can folk find you online?
You can find me at nmachinchi on Twitter. And speaking of physical transformation regarding, what's his name again?
Fashion Eddie?
Yes. Did you guys see Fonzie's transformation?
Oh, yes. I meant to do one of those, how it started, how it is now, because I've got that first photo of him in a Whitecaps jersey from the under 16, under 15 game that he played out in Cloverdale, and it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
What a transformation. He's been putting the work in. He looks a beast.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah. Zach?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ZacharyM, and it's been a pleasure.
And Steve?
You can find me on Twitter at Whitecaps Beat, and if you want to check out soccer in Colorado, check out Dick and Balls.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. I've put a concerted effort into getting more written stuff up on the site, and there's a lot of that over the past week, and there's some more to come. Give us a like and a subscribe and turn on notifications on YouTube, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. Maybe we'll have the next round of our quiz at some point soon. It's just been so busy. Let's wait till the next lockdown. I'm sure it's just around the corner. Until next time, we will be back soon. Until then, take care. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. That's the most important thing, whether it's from COVID, whether it's from the fires. And mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
More than a name, that's what we came for.
AFTN